This arrow's extremely fast emergence had a calculated route, simply not giving Su Xing time to react. The 1,000 li in a flash chase between the two also simply did not anticipate anyone could launch an arrow this quickly. Furthermore, to be able to be aimed at them, this sort of accurate attack was universally shocking. Fortunately, the arrow was not at all aimed to kill Su Xing. It brushed past him, but the arrow's tip still scraped somewhat of a cut against Su Xing's face. The Rock Demon King behind him was then misfortunate. An arrow first directly ripped his expanded divine intent to shreds, and then it directly shot towards him. Luckily, his divine intent obstructed the majority of the power, while the remainder still pierced through the Rock Demon King. The Rock Demon King yelled loudly, only feeling this arrow that penetrated his body wanted to churn his organs to pieces, to shatter his soul. Only by relying on the Rock Clan's valiant constitution did he manage to stop it. There was an immense roar in the sky. By the time the Rock Demon King looked again, Su Xing had already become a black dot disappearing into the horizon, already unchaseable. Damned Star General! The Rock Demon King yanked out this arrow, and the arrow became light particles. Astonishingly, it was made of star energy. However, he had most probably discerned that escaping person should be the traveler. The person able to leave his giant rock spreads its wings and flies 90,000 li. Unable to capture was of galaxy early stage. And perhaps only with the speed star magic traveler of the star generals could this be done. Otherwise, the other star generals could not possibly intervene. Thinking of this, the Rock Demon King's heart was slightly better, but the pain of his wounds made his fury ignite. Damn Star General! He cursed again and helplessly flew back home. Su Xing fell onto the mountaintop that fired the arrow. With this speed, the star energy he consumed could not be counted. Another instant more, and he was too late to replenish it. Like this, by the time Su Xing completely was free of danger, did he discover he seemingly had already reached the stage of being completely shriveled up. Even a finger was unwilling to move. Don't you why you die? The beauty shrieked. Her whole body dyed with Su Xing's blood. Your turn now. Su Xing lay down before a tree, speaking powerlessly. Mine. The beauty did not understand. If you don't save me, I really am going to die. Su Xing closed his eyes. The reason he had saved this girl in passing was for this time. The chaotic tail escape injured Su Xing into a mass of cuts and bruises. Even in the end times of bitter struggles he had previously, he never had been injured like this. This chaotic tail escape that harming others without self-benefit sure enough was malicious. Oh, the beauty nodded. Flustered, she found a pill bottle, but in the end, she found that there surprisingly were none. Su Xing actually had some, but he found he could not extend his divine intent, and thus could not use his astral bag. Take this. A graceful voice floated over from a high place. Raising her head to look, she saw an extraordinarily soldierly woman, had appeared at an unknown time on a high treetop. She wore a white pleated skirt. Her lapel, sleeves as well as her skirt had a black border. The lines were refined, and her physique was elegant in any posture. She wore a silver crystal tuinga, her silky hair dancing in the air. Seeing her look disdainfully at Su Xing and the girl, she then tossed a river jade porcelain bottle to Su Xing. The porcelain bottle brimmed with fragrance. Evidently, it was an extraordinary spirit pill. Ah, thank you, elder sister. The girl expressed her gratitude. Although this medicine could not bring the dead back to life nor cram full star energy, it was wonderfully effective on the Su Xing whose whole body was covered in injuries. Thank you to elder sister for the favor of saving his life. The girl bowed her head. I only could not bear to see that monster use his position to bully others, nothing more. The woman indifferently said. Apparently, this was a negligible matter. From her body, Su Xing could only sense a star energy even more profound than Wuxia's circulate. Watching her mannerisms and gestures, she was angered but dignified, with a flourishing heroism. Su Xing more or less guessed she should be a star general. Your servant is Chu He Tu of Mount Danxia. May your servant ask for elder sister's name. It is necessary that your servant cannot thank you enough. Chu He bowed. No need to trouble yourself over my name. I only want to know why would you provoke that Rock Demon King? Why could you break away? I only wonder what escape technique you used. The woman looked at Su Xing, slowly asking. This escape technique can only make you laugh when said out loud. Chaotic tail escape. 3. Using self-harm, it can escape 1,000 li. I wonder if young lady has heard of it. Su Xing gasped. Chaotic tail escape? The woman nodded. She looked at Su Xing's whole body of injuries, and was 70 to 80% convinced. Little sister Huarong completely is of refined mind. From a distant place suddenly came clear laughter. They saw a woman walked out. To Su Xing, who had seen so many beauties, her appearance could only count as ordinary, but her figure was fabulous. Her elegance was beautiful, her fine black hair like a waterfall. It was as if her shoulders had been carved, her waist perfectly balanced, and she wore a blue and white palace dress. Huarong. Su Xing heard her words and was somewhat surprised. Raising his head to look at that heroic woman, sure enough, she was a star general like he had imagined. The hero star Little Li Guang Huarong. 5. Chu He shouted in shock, gazing with an expression of adoration at the woman. Su Xing was not surprised. From that universally shocking arrow just now, it had to be the 10,000 li god-killing arrow. Presently, the people that could fire it were very few. Humph. Huarong was disgruntled. She squinted, and her tone was ice-cold. It truly is easy to draw you over. What do you want to do now? Your servant only wished to scale to the top of Maiden Mountain together with little sister. To this very small wish, is little sister unwilling to agree? That blue and white woman was all smiles. Do not raise that again. I will not sign a contract with anyone. For this time's Maiden Mountain, I will reach the summit by myself. The hero star's tone brimmed with self-confidence. The woman smiled. The previous generation's Wu Song could reach the summit only because she had Lin Chong. One person alone has her limits. Little sister being self-confident is good, but conceit will also be abundant. You dare say that I am conceited? Huarong laughed. Her eyes shot cold light. I will not kill you. And that is only because I feel you are not worth killing. Elder sister Qingxi. 6. What are doing troubling her? Suddenly, an irritated voice sounded out. A beautiful figure emerged next to that Qingxi. The one who appeared was a woman of extremely high stature. She had a panel skirt, shorts and a black armband. Her riding boots tread heavily. Her embroidered tube top was not covered with any outer garments, and she had black shoulder pads and gloves. Her fine, long black hair was bound with a gorgeous bandage inscribed with talisman script, which was even demonically beautiful to the extreme. Apart from this, she did not have too many accessories. Her attires could be considered bold, and she revealed a great expanse of skin that was not white, but a sort of tan. Compared to her master, the two could be said to have incomparably distinct forms. If Qingxi could be said to be like that expression that could only be drawn, nevertheless, that would be a slightly regretful beauty. Then, this tall woman was just like a beautiful Azura trapped in a prison, covered in a murderous aura from head to foot. Those black pupils demonically fierce, forcing others to not dare gaze at them. Since she is unwilling to accompany elder sister, I shall beat her into submitting under elder sister's foot. The demonic woman was cold beyond compare. Longkue, 7. You must not be so lacking in manners. Qingxi smiled. Elder sister actually wants to play with little sister Longkue. Huawanyua hooked a disdainful smile. Her expression sunk, and an indescribable longbow formed in her hand. The bow was painted red, its bowstring gloomy. The bow's body flickered, indistinctly revealing the sun, moon and stars. 3 magnificent stars were extremely dazzling. The heaven-earth-sun-moon bow. 8. As expected, she was the hero star Little Li Guang Huarong. 5. That Longkue woman spread her arms, and 2 clumps of darkness emerged. That gloom flickered, and from time to time, demonic dancing claws could be seen, as if an Azura was in the palm of her hand. Her weapon was shrouded within, and its shape was simply indistinguishable, but a forceful terror made Su Xing shiver. He was all right, but that Chu He had been scared pale in the face as she hid behind Su Xing. Longkue stepped and skyrocketed into the treetop. Shwa, shwa, shwa. Huanwanhua opened the bow extremely quickly, and 3 arrows followed suit. Those arrows also were not an ordinary weapons. The arrows were swift, their power fierce, and although the woman Long Kuei used her weapon to block, she still was pushed back by the arrow attack. Hua Wanyue drew the bow into a full moon, and starlight glittered once again. Long Kuei's body techniques dodged to the left once more, avoiding several arrows before she chopped towards the large tree. A boom! A tree that could be encircled by 7 or 8 people had been cleaved in two in the blink of an eye. Perhaps Lin Yingmei could not easily attain this sort of might. The gloomy weapon hacked it down, its murderous aura flaring up. It directly bit at Hua Wanyue, but the hero star stepped in midair, as if she had tread on a cloud. Her figure flew backwards, and the heaven-earth-sun-moon bow consecutively launched several arrows, breaking open this murderous air. Long Kuei's figure directly rose, just like a murderous god. That space had been ripped apart and seemingly pulled into a straight line. In practically a single breath, Long Kuei's attack quietly arrived beside the hero star Hua Wanyue without any indication, aiming at the hero star Little Li Guang's excellent arrow arts. The Azura-like Long Kuei was fully aware of its power. Her seemingly impulsive and uncivilized attack first of all made calculations that were more precise than a machine's. Hua Wanyue was very surprised Long Kuei was this swift. The hero star's eyes narrowed, and she opened her bow to fire arrows. Her speed was extremely quick, and looking far into the distance, more than a dozen arrow pillars were like gently falling scattered willow tufts. In an instant, they formed a soaring storm. Its formidable might covered the sky and hid the earth, conforming with the chaotic atmosphere. The arrow had not yet arrived, but its murderous air arrived first. Dance through the willows. Tin, a vicious and angry shout. The gloom on Long Kuei's hands combined into one. Black chi shot everywhere, soaring into the sky, her body following the movements of her palms. Black light flashed, and her entire person already was like an arrow, shot straight, just as if she had used her yellow rank style. One hit certain kill. The distance between the two seemingly ceased to exist. Long Kuei's gloom was brandished, and it slammed together with the falling willow tufts that filled the skies. Su Xing only saw the black chi almost seem to want to devour the willow tufts. But it was the hero star who was evidently a step ahead in the end. The hero star flew 100 chi upwards. The arrow's power concentrated, and the willow's flying dance successively broke this attacking prison. The mountain forest rumbled, the trees toppled, and the birds scattered in alarm. The hero star Little Li Guang abruptly pulled back on the bow and aimed at Long Kuei's master, Qingxi. The bow was drawn into a full moon, and the arrow seemingly whistled. Qingxi confidently did not move. A black shadow flung out and intercepted the arrow. I want to see between you and I just who can go farther. Hua Wanyue lightly smiled. By the time they looked again, she had already disappeared without a trace. Long Kuei was not resigned as she clenched her teeth. She looked askance at the Su Xing and Chu He several dozen meters away, spitting out 2 words of killing intent. You hindrances. Her body passed like black smoke, and a powerful killing intent covered them head-on. Fuck. This woman honestly was oppressive and fierce. Su Xing's body was powerless, somewhat lethargic. This honestly was escaping the wolf's mouth and into the tiger's den. Long Kuei, come back. Qingxi softly called out. The attacking Azura's murderous air instantly vanished like smoke into thin air. Long Kuei withdrew and returned to her master's side. Her eyes were seemingly looking at a dead person as she stared at Su Xing and Chu He. Excuse me. I wonder what relationship you two have with Hua Wanyue? Qingxi advanced, asking with a smile, her voice like a cleansing spring breeze. But what a pity that heaven was too impartial, giving her a songbird's throat yet with such a mediocre appearance. Su Xing was not of a generation that judged others by their appearances. Seeing that she should be a formidable star master, he naturally could not mention the matter of his being chased by the Rock Demon King. In addition, seeing that her star general was very addicted to killing, knowing that they were star masters was perhaps difficult to achieve a good ending. He replied, We just happened to pass by this place. So it turned out to be this, we have caused you trouble. Qingxi lightly smiled. Su Xing only felt that the feeling this Qingxi woman gave him was somewhat strange, but neither could he say where this strange feeling came from. Thinking afterwards, Perhaps the reason was her tone and ordinary appearance. Having come to Liangshan continent for this long, Su Xing found that the women he encountered truly were those beauties from novels. Would you like to descend the mountain together? Qingxi asked. This woman is of unidentified origins, and her star general is addicted to killing. Right now my star energy is completely drained. I can't take a good position, but journeying together only has danger. Su Xing pondered and tactfully refused Qingxi. He had also been scared stiff by that black windy frenzy of Longkuei's. She hid behind Su Xing, not daring to utter a word. Qingxi nodded, called for Longkuei and descended the mountain. Su Xing was not in the mood to stay, but he discovered a difficult problem at this time. As a result of the Rock Demon King's deadly pursuit, he simply had not paid attention. By the time he had stopped, he found he did not know where he had come to. Looking around on the mountain, the topography was continuous and uninterrupted, endless. Clearly, this was still the Vermilion Bird territory, but he could see the ocean 100 li away, which was not like the Vermilion Bird territory. Do you know where this is? Su Xing asked. This should be the Vermilion Bird territory. He thought. She seemed to feel her reply was nonsense, and the girl lowered her head in shame. The Vermilion Bird territory's mountains are countless. How could I remember any of them? Let's take a look with riding sword flight first then. Su Xing was without a choice, sending his gaze towards He. I have been poisoned. I currently am incapable of using my riding sword. He replied in embarrassment. Forget it. It would be better to first rest here for a few days to recover. Su Xing shook his head. He agreed, somewhat apologetic. Meanwhile, at the Jade Alum Palace, Lady Snake Scorpion sat within, her alluring face truly angered to being ashen. At the time the crying star twin-tailed scorpion Xiaobao returned to the star nest, Lady Snake Scorpion went dumbstruck. She could never have thought that within her own 5 Poisons mountain there would be a cultivator that dared to draw her attention. Moreover, killing Xiaobao. She truly wanted her lord husband to drag that bastard back, so she could refine his mind into a human goo. The great king has returned. A maid respectfully stepped forth. The Lady Snake Scorpion smiled. Xie Diao's eyes were gloomy, thoroughly filled with hatred towards the man who killed her sister. The large red cape entered the room, and Lady Snake Scorpion's expression tightened. Great King the Rock Demon King's body bore injuries, and his expression was seemingly very difficult. What is that man's background? How could even you, the Great King, have been? Lady Snake Scorpion was agape and speechless. This king fears it was a star general. The Rock Demon King summarized the events that transpired. Lady Snake Scorpion naturally did not believe that excuse of the Rock Demon Kings. The Speed Star Magic Traveler Daizong was famous as trash with martial force. How could the twin-tailed scorpion Xiaobao die by her hand? But looking at what the Rock Demon King said, there were no lies. Since the giant rock spreads its wing and flies 90,000 li had been used and still could not pursue, it could only be said that the opponent's powers actually were somewhat defiant of the natural order. The Great King had best rest well for the night. This 5 Poisons mountain has been locked down, and the opponent is one who surely comes with ill intentions. Lady Snake Scorpion said. Then lady had best be careful. Husband shall go into seclusion. The Rock Demon King exhorted. 5 Poisons mountains poison gas crisscrossed, and even if it was him, he was not accustomed to this sort of place. This arrow really was not that powerful, but it was just that he currently was using high-speed flight, and was not on guard. For that reason, this arrow's injury was very heavy. It was necessary to return to Falling Dragon Mountains Kuan and Peng Hall. 2. For the purpose of safety, the Rock Demon King mobilized several dozen demi-kings to stand guard. And still ill at ease, he brought out a one-handed 3-chi sword that was just like it had been formed from condensed starlight. The sword's blade and hilt were connected as one, and its light was reserved, its light sharp, the entire sword thin as a cicada's wing. When she saw this item, Lady Snake Scorpion was dumbfounded. This sword was the treasure of Falling Dragon Mountain. The purple star-grade astral treasure, Star's Falling Dragon Sword. 3. Wife must be more careful. The Rock Demon King had been struck with an arrow and could sense the terrifying nature of a star general. Vaguely feeling this matter was somewhat strange. Sensing the Rock Demon King's intentions, Lady Snake Scorpion smiled passionately. "Lord Husband, be at ease. Your servant will surely make those cultivators be gone forever." By the time the Rock Demon King left, Lady Snake Scorpion fiddled with this purple star-grade sword, feeling the terror of this sword. Although star weapons after 7-star already far surpassed astral treasures, with this sword in hand, even if it was a supervoid cultivator in this phase, the sword would no doubt send him to walk about inside King Yama's palace. A time of 3 days passed since the Rock Demon King's universally shocking giant rock spreads its wings and flies. Su Xing finally could count as knowing the place he was presently at. He unexpectedly had arrived at the Vermilion Bird Territory's northernmost Broken Water Mountain. This mountain was the Vermilion Bird Territory's borderline, and he could already see the sea at the other end of Liangshan continent. From southernmost to the northernmost, this escape flight unexpectedly covered 8 million li. This certainly made Su Xing go mute. If he were to return to Eastern District Mount Danxia, that would need a month's time, and then some. The fastest pace would need 10 days, and of course, using the chaotic tail escape was a solution. Thus, Su Xing found joy and sorrow, gathering without much effort the spirit medicines of the evil smiting writ leisurely and carefreely. During these relaxed days, he heard a few rumors of the North District's immeasurable mountain. For example, the living goddess of lightning Wang Dinglu that plundered the birth treasure outline had fled to and hid in the North District. Immeasurable Mountain's ancestor Zhaohua currently was on an unbridled search. A crowd of star generals had been attracted into the North District, making ancestor Zhaohua seemingly face a great enemy. Su Xing originally wanted to steal it, but thinking of that randomly appearing and disappearing Wang Dinglu, searching any further was practically to find a needle in a haystack. Furthermore, the Azure Dragon Territory's great cultivators had come to this place for a search, and only then did Su Xing dispel this idea. And after 7 days like this, the pair that left the North District very quickly reached the Vermilion Bird Territory's Deer Pursuit. Deer Pursuit was the only place in the Vermilion Bird Territory that was without a commander. This place was occupied by more than 100 demi-kings, each occupying 100 mountaintops. Because of this, these demi-kings joined in opposition against outside enemies, and there was no lack of hermit adepts that could be placed on par with demon kings. For this reason, Mount Danxia's Holy Mother Qixia, Falling Dragon Mountain's Rock Demon King, Immeasurable Mountain's ancestor Zhaohua, as well as Silver Night Mountain's Holy Mother Yuchun all could not be injured. In addition, Deer Pursuit overlooked the 4 other districts. Acting as a buffer zone had been tacitly preserved by everyone. Because of this, the Center District could even be said to be Demi-King Deer Pursuit, a fierce anomaly. Su Xing had once thought of usurping the Deer Pursuit, learning from that Rock Demon King to independently become king. With this, the Azure Dragon Territory's 10 great sects would be nothing difficult. This was the quickest strength-preserving approach because the Vermilion Bird Territory respected the strong, often looking to whose fist was large. However, Su Xing's current strength could not be said to be very weak. Choosing the Vermilion Bird Territory's Demi-King was not hard, but nevertheless, there was not a guarded mountain with capital. This kind of matter also needed to be planned from within, actually giving Su Xing a very big epiphany. On this day, Su Xing and Chu He flew to a borderline mountaintop of Center District Deer Pursuit, Firehorn Mountain. 5. They directly received a high temperature that overflowed the skies. Firehorn Mountain, although it only had a range of less than several 10,000 li, Firehorn Mountain was actually a volcano. All year round, there was a raging inferno, rushing into the horizon. From far away, the temperatures were extremely high. Let alone humans, even cultivators were incapable of enduring the high temperatures, and the temperatures in the middle need not be said. The one governing Firehorn Mountain was the Fire Shadow Clan. 6. These clan members were fire energy experts, controlling fire as if it was an arm, very exceptional. The Fire Shadow Clan's character was violent like a flames. The surrounding demi-clan cultivators all were not willing to provoke them. Originally, Su Xing was not at all willing to travel to this Firehorn Mountain, but it seemed Chu He was very anxious to rush back because going to Firehorn Mountain could save a few days' time. The pair already flew to the highest place, and that burning was still fierce as before. A woman materialized beside Chu-hee. That woman had long hair, and wore blue treasure clothes that were sleeveless with a skirt dragging along the ground. She had boots and a corset, and from the blue light that flickered in her eyes, Su Xing was unsurprised to know that Chu-hee was a star master. It seemed Firehorn Mountain still made Chu-hee feel danger, for she made her star general stick to her side. Her premonition was awfully accurate. At the time they entered Firehorn Mountain, flames rushed into the sky. Several dozen red shadows encircled them with subtle shuffling. These people wore red armor, and their faces had been half covered. Their hands grasped fire swords while they were equipped with scarlet armor. Among them, the leading man was Galaxy Early Stage, and his legs stood upon a fire cloud. His hand grasped a fire spear. Brazen thieves, you would go so far as to dare pass over this mountain on your own without asking Great King Firehorn for permission. The man's forehead had a flame horn, and his eyes were penetrating. Judging by his expression that stared at Chu-hee's star general with evil intentions, Su Xing could guess that the not asking part was false. Perhaps Chu-hee's star general had already evoked in Great King Firehorn covetous thoughts. Su Xing looked out the corner of his eye. Those Fire Shadow clansmen already began to surreptitiously lay a fire-type array. They were somewhat scheming. Your servant is Chu-hee, serving under Mount Danxia's Holy Mother Qixia. Your servant has some business to return to the mountain. For lacking manners like this, your servant apologizes. Chu-hee said. Mount Danxia. Great King Firehorn was startled. His eyes turned. Do not deceive me. You must have the Mount Danxia token. Yes. Having been surrounded by this demi-clan, Chu-hee did not dare be trusting. Her star general had been killed back into the star nest, and she had only recovered just a bit currently. If they actually fought, there perhaps would be no good fruit to eat within someone else's territory. Bring it over for this king to inspect. Great King Firehorn shouted. Just at the moment Great King Firehorn went to catch the token, suddenly, the token had been snatched away by Su Xing. Are you making fun of this king? Great King Firehorn's voice was cold, fire chi shooting in all directions. Will you truly let us pass if you get it? Su Xing slowly asked. Of course. If it truly is the Holy Mother of Mount Danxia, this king naturally will be hospitable. Great King Firehorn said. Su Xing grunted, then threw the token. Great King Firehorns had somewhat of a mocking expression. These stupid cultivators. By the time this king obtains your token, then we shall properly deal with you. One hand caught the token, and in an instant he saw a purple lotus flower. That lotus flower was incomparably strange, and it was stuck behind the token. Because the throw speed was too quick, it was practically linked with simply no way to perceive it. Not good. Great King Firehorn greatly changed. Su Xing coldly smiled. A purple lightning net violently opened, and captured Great King Firehorn within. Su Xing subsequently gestured, and 12 flying swords assembled into a sword array that broke open Great King Firehorn's raging inferno. The swords pressed against his whole body, golden light flickering. As long as Su Xing willed it, they could destroy this demi-king. Let alone that some of the Vermilion Bird Territory's demi-kings were Galaxy Early Stage. In actuality, they were very ordinary in Su Xing's eyes. A few demi-king did not practice any sort of ability, and neither did they have any superb magic weapons. They completely relied on their demi-clan's innate gifts to declare themselves overlords, just like the Great King Devil Mask last time that was incapable of holding back even Su Xing's flying swords. Even other galaxy cultivators could at least release flying swords and such. It could be seen these demi-kings were all somewhat intelligent and good-looking, so of course some demi-clans and demi-kings were indeed frightening. Actually, Great King Firehorn relied on Firehorn Mountain's exceptionally favorable location, and had excellent abilities, but he simply did not anticipate Su Xing would suddenly rebel. Furthermore, that flying sword was sharp and fierce. The purple lightning unexpectedly broke the fire chi protecting him, and by the time he returned to his senses, he was already restrained by the flying swords, incapable of moving a muscle. You cunning cultivator. Great King Firehorn cursed. Su Xing coldly smiled. He abruptly smashed a jade plate in his hand towards the demi-king's forehead. Great King Fire Lord screamed in fright, and the jade was smashed against him. The jade plate transformed, and a blazing totem appeared. Su Xing shook the jade plate. "Master, please spare me." Demi-King Firehorn screamed in pain. He crawled upon the fire cloud, and the other Fire Shadow clan members immediately trembled and knelt. They could see that the jade plate in Su Xing's hand was the God Sealing Plate. 7. An immemorial secret treasure specially used to capture Demi-Kings. This was opportune, for Su Xing had obtained it from Demi-King Golden Wings, and refined it on the road. Originally, he had not hoped to capture a Demi-King. After all, these Demi-Kings were far from being that easy to capture. If it was not appropriate, provoking the retaliation of the other Demi-Kings created benefits outweighed by the losses, but this nevertheless was a golden opportunity bestowed by the heavens. Now he had actually appointed its use. In nearly the blink of an eye, Su Xing became the great king of Firehorn Mountain. He was stupefied, and she had not yet clearly understood how this sort of excessive transformation took place. The interior of the cave was extremely hot that it was simply like being in the center of an underground fire. He was unable to take it, and retreated to outside the mountain, which made Great King Firehorn secretly sneer. Although this servant had been captured by a trace of divine intent by the God Sealing Plate, he nevertheless was not resigned to be so. Su Xing knew this, yet he remained unmoved. He discreetly swallowed that 5 spirits magic fire relic, for this 5 spirits magic relic's nature was categorized as fire type. When it entered his throat, there was a brief fiery sensation, but the 5 spirits magic relic immediately began to exhibit its function when it slowly redirected the surrounding high temperatures to the entrance. The fire spirit relic originally was the condensed form of a tool refinement master's quintessence, and this tiny underground fire naturally was not to be feared. When Great King Firehorn saw Su Xing so at ease amidst the underground fires, the carefreeness was somewhat alarming. He did not know what the background of this cultivator was, but even if it was his own body that had trained more than 50 years in the fire spirit transformation, the high temperatures of the underground fires in the cavern were adapted to only with great difficulty. Seeing Su Xing capable of acclimating in no more than the blink of an eye, the blaze seemingly being absorbed into the skin of his body was not at all like the appearance of a self-protection magic weapon. Immediately, his heart was endlessly reverent. This Firehorn Mountain actually is an extremely good fire vein to train fire-type cultivation methods. Su Xing inwardly said. It was a pity his 5 styles refinement had still not yet learned how to have the thunder style ignite a fire. Otherwise, refining the fire system true vigor in his body perhaps would not need more than a month to reach the transforming realm. The entire cavern established within the interior of Firehorn Mountain was known as Fire Cloud Hall. 3. It was constructed entirely from the fire crystal indigenous to Firehorn Mountain, and it was constructed with the utmost care and attention. The fire chi was pressing, and it dispersed over the towns in the hall's surroundings. Although it could not compare in elegance, it nevertheless was embellished with a secretly allowed fire spirit magic circle. Even though it welcomed enemies, it was a superb array. Fire Cloud Hall's interior was very enormous, with 100 or so stone rooms 10 jong tall. Fire crystals acted as stools, and the ground was covered with fire pelts. Infernos burned, the high temperature was strong, and the odd flora and essence jade of fire spirit decorated very luxuriously. This Firehorn Mountain at the center district deer pursuit attained a small escape. Originally, he had thought these would be some trash cultivation methods to console them, and Great King Firehorn was even somewhat smug with mockery. However, when he saw those texts and rare books, he immediately was endlessly moved. And how could the astral bag of ancestor Heavenly Fire have trash cultivation methods? If they were not high grade, then they were supreme grade. How could these Vermilion Bird Territory demi-soldiers that were poor and destitute not rejoice when they saw this? The Vermilion Bird Territory's myriad demi-clans each had special abilities, but they did not have a standard system like the Azure Dragon Territory. Thus, relying on every sort of magic medicine and ley line to cultivate their magic energy to profound levels was somewhat all talk, but no action and meaning. The Azure Dragon Territory was extremely stringent with their blockade against the Vermilion Bird Territory. Powerful cultivation methods could not be circulated over so as to avoid expanding the enemy's wings. Consequently, the vermilion bird territory incomparably yearned for what was in the azure dragon territory that they would invade at that time. Now, with the cultivation methods that Su Xing granted, Firehorn Mountain was just like it was a grade higher than the other clans. A crowd of generals including Great King Firehorn accepted these willingly, paying their respects for Su Xing's kindness. The Vermilion Bird territory had always respected the strong, and Su Xing used a galaxy early-stage cultivation to capture Great King Firehorn, entering the center of the underground fires, then showing deep profundity, and now bestowing high-grade fire-type arts. With these 3 steps, how could these not make them submit? Their hearts recognized that Su Xing perhaps was a great monster that hid his cultivation. Su Xing nodded in satisfaction. He planned to first rely on Firehorn Mountain to open a gap into deer pursuit. Firehorn Mountain's environment just so happened to give Su Xing the opportunity to conceal himself. Which bastard dared to bully Dad? 5. From outside the hall suddenly came a voice. Su Xing looked over and saw a fragrant girl draped in red muslin rush in. Her red hair and crimson eyes were pretty, but what made Su Xing pay attention were the 12 flying swords that hovered behind the woman. Surprisingly, she was capable of a sword chant. "Daughter, you must not be rude to master." Great King Firehorn hastily shouted. 6. Fire without shadow. 7. Go. The girl chanted and made hand seals. The 12 fire shadow flying swords whooshed over to attack Su Xing. These flying swords could only count as mid-rank in Su Xing's eyes. Su Xing flicked his fingers, and the Purple Mansion Immortal's thunder was launched, just like a dragon as it grabbed hold of the flying swords. Everyone in the main hall was astonished. This was the first time they had seen Immortal's magic. The girl's complexion turned pale. Nevertheless, she spat, spouting out a burst of earthly fire. "Daughter, desist." Great King Firehorn split open the earthly fire with a palm. "Dad." The girl angrily looked at Su Xing with confusion. This deceitful man used some despicable trick. How could that be considered open and candid? If you have the skill, then determine just who is higher with this princess. Fine. Su Xing nodded, and one heaven tearing flew out. The purple thunder lightning claw broke, and the girl urged the 12 flying swords to shoot forth. That heaven-tearing sword slashed unstoppably, cutting down the 12 flying swords. Heaven-tearing was an immemorial sword chant, forged of supreme-grade materials. How could it be compared with those flying swords that girl had? When the girl saw her sword chant was unexpectedly incapable of handling one flying sword. She was stunned, but she smirked. Su Xing felt this was strange. Suddenly, he saw the girl's forehead flash a star crest. A fiery shadow with 2 eyes of scarlet, just like a male lion, attacked toward Su Xing. A star master. Seeing that Great King Firehorn's expression was complex, Su Xing immediately realized when this Great King Firehorn initially robbed Chu He. It was perhaps because of her identity as a star master. Su Xing dodged, and he saw a scarlet fire iron chain hammer ruthlessly pulverize his seat. How could Su Xing dare be careless confronting a star general? He fired a Purple Mansion Immortal's thunder to break this blaze. The opponent also wanted to score a quick victory. She wanted to instantly get rid of Su Xing to avoid him activating the God Sealing Plate. That scarlet fire iron chain pierced through the purple thunder, and the iron chain was bathed in a fire cloud. Each and every one of these fire clouds were like demonic lions that pounced at Su Xing. Su Xing sent out 12 flying swords, and heaven-tearing slashed with whooshes, eliminating these swan and eye fires. The golden swords roared with a dragon's cry, and they became a net. This star general was seriously formidable. Her figure seemingly flew, and seeing her iron chain fling, the fire jade in the hall had been shattered on impact. The iron chain then shot straight at Su Xing. Heaven-tearing formed a shield of swords to block this chain. Suddenly, an unclear figure appeared behind Su Xing. The opponent had surprisingly abandoned her weapon in order to attack. Her hands grasped claws, and her expression had the ominous glint of red fire, just like a vengeful lion, swift and severe. Su Xing only felt a powerful pressure heavily bear upon him, and his body seemingly was out of control. Not good. It was a yellow rank battle tactic. Su Xing promptly felt this sort of oppressive, imposing air originated in the Star General's finishing move. If an ordinary cultivator had been pounced on by her, perhaps they would have already been frozen by her imposing air, and then have had their necks snapped. However, put anyway, Su Xing had received Lin Yingmei's and Yan Yizhen's baptism. His movements truly were like lightning, for his left hand moved forward to protect his throat while his right moved backwards to grab. 8. The opponent's sharp claws grabbed onto Su Xing's hand, and it was as if it had been seized by a lion. There was a scorching hot pain, and the sharp claw continuously pressed down to tear Su Xing's windpipe. Su Xing's right hand at this time grabbed a jutting, soft object. Shockingly, it was that Star General's breast. The Star General froze, and her lion claw also turned sluggish. Su Xing took advantage of this opportunity, and he imparted a Purple Mansion Immortal's thunder onto his palm. With a shallow cry, the girl was pushed back several paces. The Star General honestly was incredible to surprisingly not have been knocked unconscious. The Star General had been repelled, and was about to charge. Su Xing could be considered to know from personally the experience of fighting ordinary star cultivators and martial force star generals. As expected, a fiend star was troublesome. Seeing that she still wanted to charge, Su Xing clutched the miraculous Bodhi tree, considering whether or not to kill her contractor. At this time he heard the girl shout, "Rongxin, 9 stop." Only then did the Star Maiden's arched body slowly resume a cautious stance. The fire fog scattered, and Su Xing saw distinctly the appearance of the Star General in front of him. The woman was abundantly beautiful, her features extremely so. Her pupils were like rubies, and her long curled red hair seemingly burned like a flame. She wore a fire jade tiara, and she was draped in swan and eye armor. She hefted an iron chain hammer filled with essence fire. What a demonic Star General! Especially those eyes that were harsher than a lion's, gazing at Su Xing wishing she could devour him alive. Raging Heaven's Starfire Hammer. 10. It turned out to be the ranked 49th whole star fiery-eyed Swan and Eye Dang Fei. 11. Looking at her towering chest, the exposed half of that perfect roundness had a hand imprint. Su Xing then knew what she was resentful about. It seemed that Star Generals were still women after all. Enough, you are not allowed to make trouble. Hurry and come pay respects to Master. Great King Firehorn yelled. Looking at Su Xing he was secretly startled. A galaxy early stage that unexpectedly could handle a Star General was actually inconceivable. His heart was even more firm in believing Su Xing was a monster that concealed his cultivation had reached annihilation. In order to avoid Su Xing resentfully killing his daughter, he hastily shouted to stop her. That maiden's long hair was spry and lively, her figure graceful, especially that hair that was thoroughly red like a flame. She was known as Firehorn Mountain's Princess Yan. 12. And her character was also somewhat irascible. How could she be resigned to see her father become a prisoner under the stairs? Now seeing that she had been ordered to stop, and then seeing her own Star General unable to kill Su Xing in a spurt of energy, and give him a chance for the God Sealing Plate, she was briefly dumbfounded where she was, embarrassed and at a complete loss. This is subordinate's beloved daughter Tuoba Yen, and you still do not pay master respects. Great King Firehorn hastily shot a glance at Princess Yan. Su Xing thoughtfully looked at Princess Yan. He played with the God Sealing Plate in his hand as if nothing had happened. This kind of vague threat clearly added more pressure, and Tuoba Yen was conflicted. Whatever you are thinking of doing, you are just finding trouble with this princess. I never thought that I could encounter a Star Master at Firehorn Mountain, and it is even a man-eating lion. Su Xing sized up that whole star fiery-eyed Swan and Eye Dang Fei, his tone containing a slight pressure. Without her master's order, the fiery-eyed Swan and Eye could only have no other choice. Gnashing her teeth, those crimson eyes let loose an ominous glint. This sort of Star General was a disaster if left at his side. And this Princess Yin seemed also to be an unruly tsundere. If he left things alone, this would bring him harm. It was a pity that with Su Xing's current star energy, controlling a galaxy early-stage demi-king with the God Sealing Plate was very precarious. Besides, it would not be too possible for the God Sealing Plate to control a Star General. However, This girl dared to act and had the courage to assume responsibility. If she could do that, then she actually was not bad. Thinking things through again and again, Su Xing's heart then had a countermeasure. Your servant did not think she was unable to take down a galaxy early-stage cultivator. Deng Fei's expression was gloomy and cold. Great King Firehorn, what would you say your servant should do to tame this lion? Su Xing asked. In the battle just now with Tuoba Yen and her star general, Great King Firehorn, and the other demi-clan generals did not take advantage of the situation, which gave Su Xing a favorable impression. Only because of this did he let Tuoba Yen go. Otherwise, with that sort of close-quarters attack by the fiery-eyed swan and eye, Su Xing would already have bluntly first executed the contractor. You wish to tame your servant? Deng Fei continuously laughed coldly. The raging heaven's starfire hammer seemed to sense the indignation in its master's heart. The bright flames explosively swelled and turned into a lion. She advanced a step, her steps creating raging infernos, about to execute an attack. Things cannot be like this. Princess Yin shouted. Great King Firehorn looked at the crowd of generals. The abilities Su Xing displayed had already thoroughly convinced the Fire Shadow Clan's generals. Their hearts had also tacitly agreed on the fact Su Xing was king. And now, seeing that Su Xing unexpectedly could defeat a star general, had only naturally made them even more reverent. Princess Yen is one of my rare kin that can utilize the sword chant ability. I ask that master start off leniently. If she serves the great king, then it is certain she can be like a tiger that has grown wings. The generals plead for leniency one after the other. Like a tiger that has grown wings, or am I nurturing a tiger that invites disaster? I fear that is not easy to say. Su Xing's tone was ice-cold. I also implore that master let her off just this once. My beloved daughter's mother passed away early. Her natural disposition is stubborn, but she is not a person devoid of sense. Great King Firehorn begged for leniency. Subordinate is willing to properly discipline his daughter. And this is actually true. To be able to stand up for her father, she is a filial daughter. Su Xing nodded his head, remaining non-committal. Hearing that things had somewhat turned for the better, Great King Firehorn was delighted, but the next sentence made his pleasant surprise stop there. Does the Vermilion Bird territory not have a Nether River blood oath? To Tuoba, if you truly are a filial daughter, then accept the consequences. Su Xing indifferently looked at Tuoba. Hearing the words Nether River blood oath, Tuoba complexion slightly changed. The Nether River blood oath was an extremely well-known, and even somewhat malicious pledge of the Vermilion Bird territory's demi-clans. With blood as the evidence, the soul as the medium, once the words were uttered, the oath-taker became a slave, unable to emancipate themselves. However, only with this could Su Xing be at ease. Otherwise, raising a female tiger by his side, who could relax? Don't think. Deng Rongxin raised her hackles, and she was about to throw out the raging heaven's starfire hammer. Princess Yin extended a hand to stop her. The girl actually seemed surprisingly calm. Those red eyes fixed firmly on Su Xing, seemingly wanting to look through something. You wish to have a star master become your slave? So do you not fear the consequences? You had better think over your consequences right now. Su Xing laughed inwardly. He was a star master that could be considered the so-called rational and lawful towards the star duels. Even if he was not a star master, Su Xing could not possibly be frightened by a legend shrouded in mist. Not only he, but any one of Liangshan continent's countless star cultivators did not think this way. The sole individuals that somewhat considered this were those deeply rooted sections. Fine, then this princess shall oblige you. Tuoba Yin resolutely said. Princess. The fiery-eyed swan and eye Deng Rongxin was still somewhat unresigned. Tuoba Yin shook her head and bit open her finger. She let the blood splatter in her surroundings, forming a profound magic circle. This array had 10 death gates, 10 life gates, and a sea of blood in the center. Tuoba Yin began to slowly chant. I enter the death gate, then losing rebirth. Life and death are in hand, and the blood sea is attached. I enter the life gate, wishing to enter my grave, abandoning life and death, becoming a slave, becoming a servant. This Nether River blood oath had considerable background. Legend had it that the Vermilion Bird demi-clans all had a common ancestor named Ancestor Nether. 3. In the Vermilion Bird Territories myths, this Ancestor Nether was in charge of the underworld's blood rivers, controlling life, death and reincarnation, and the veins in the bodies of all of the Vermilion Bird demi-clans flowed with Ancestor Nether's blood. If blood was used for an oath, then it was the world's most poisonous pledge. If the oath were to be broken, then the violator would forever fall into the underworld and experience death, robbed of reincarnation. Tuoba Yin promises the man right here before her to forever fall. For all my life, I become a slave, and my life and death fall into his hand. Each word that Tuoba Yin chanted made the Star General fiery-eyed Swan and I a bit more unsightly. Her fingernails pinched into her flesh, bringing out a scar of blood. After the final word was uttered, that blood sea array condensed into a drop of blood. This drop of blood blended into Tuoba Yan's soul intent, and then it floated before Su Xing. Su Xing opened his mouth and absorbed this blood intent. Tuoba Yin cried out, and the Nether River blood oath was considered finished. With this, Tuoba Yin was Su Xing's servant for her whole life. So long as Su Xing did not change the oath, should Tuoba Yin be the slightest bit disloyal, then death would be better than life. Tuoba Yin walked forward. She suddenly squatted, and brought out a bottle of medicine that she spread onto the wounds that had been ripped open by the fiery-eyed Swan and I. This Nether River blood oath honestly was formidable. She had just finished swearing it, and Tuoba Yin was this quick to obediently begin serving him. You are a princess after all. I will not do anything to you. Seeing that Tuoba Yan's fingers were trembling, how could Su Xing not know what she was thinking? Tuoba Yin for her whole life is master's slave servant, and does not dare have delusions. Tuoba Yin replied with an expressionless face. I will not treat you unfairly. Consider these 3 things as given to you. Su Xing knew that when it was appropriate to show kindness and to exert pressure, 2 items then flew out. Seeing those 3 things, the expressionless Tuoba Yin immediately showed astonishment. There was a secret art, and there was a double-edged sword. This 9 chapters of Conflagration Sky has recorded 9 types of true fire supreme grade palm techniques. It will be very helpful to you. Many thanks to Master. Princess Yin bowed her head and said. Seeing her so cute, Su Xing also gave the firebolt sword to her. 5. This artifact currently did not have any use to Su Xing, but Princess Yan's fire element was fierce, so this was very helpful to her. What is your flying sword? Su Xing asked. Reporting to Master. This sword is known as Fire Without Shadow, and what is practiced is the 12 True Fires sword chant. I have a heavenly dark clinging fire sword chant, 6, and it is a high-grade sword chant. Take it. As for materials, I have some, but the others you will have to manage yourself. Su Xing gave the heavenly dark clinging fire sword chant, and a few materials to Princess Yan. Signing the Nether River blood oath, Princess Yan's strength increased a bit, and thus would be more helpful to him. Slave servant thanks Master. Compared to her ice-cold just now, the present Tuoba Yan's tone was much warmer. I still have important matters to attend to. When I return the next time, I hope this Firehorn Mountain will all be in your Great King Firehorn's control. Su Xing coldly said. Great King Firehorn heard Su Xing's meaning, and he was startled and happy. 9 caves and 10 streams, there still are several demi-kings. With Master's secret books as a guide, these cave groups can be received in about a year. About a year. Too long. Su Xing shook his head. He brought out a pearl and a mirror. This pearl's name is Boundless Sun Pearl. Its spiritual power has suffered a bit of damage, but relying on Firehorn Mountain's ley lines for renewed refinement, it will be a powerful magic weapon. However, you are incapable of using it. Firehorn, this pearl shall be given to you. There is also this Fire Dragon mirror that you had best also take for refinement. Su Xing gestured with his hand. After he acquired Heaven Tearing, these 2 magic weapons were of little value to Su Xing. The Boundless Sun Pearl and Fire Dragon mirror flew into Great King Firehorn's hands. Great King Firehorn's most powerful magic weapon was a true fire spear, forged from fire essence and true fire, but it simply was frail against Su Xing's Heaven Tearing. With these magic weapons, his strength also greatly increased. Great King Firehorn repeatedly expressed his thanks. Seeing Su Xing so extravagant, the fiery-eyed swan and I was amazed and lost her previous drive. Right, do you have Karma Fire Spirit Stones 7 here? Su Xing suddenly recalled that Yan Yizhen required 6 pieces of Karma Fire Spirit Stones to advance to 3-star, and he wondered whether or not this Firehorn Mountain had any. Karma Fire Spirit Stones? This dwelling keeps 4 pieces. Great King Firehorn said promptly. Then good. I just so happen to have some use for them. Su Xing smiled. Hurry and go bring those 4 pieces of Karma Fire Spirit Stones over for Master. Great King Firehorn commanded. Immediately he thought. It would be better for subordinate to go. Su Xing nodded, letting the others all withdraw. The main hall was left with only Su Xing and the Princess Yan obediently squatting at Su Xing's feet. Seeing this girl was previously tsundere, and now actually obedient, he gave her a massage. This transformation scene honestly was somewhat big. Princess Yan saw that Su Xing was staring at her, and her face turned thoroughly red as she averted her gaze. Why would you want to star duel? Su Xing asked. It seems your Firehorn Mountain's influence is not great, so everything about the star duels would simply bode ill for you, correct? Princess Yan and Deng Rongxin both were taken aback, having never thought Su Xing would be this caring. Slave servant does not dare hide the truth from master. Only by signing a contract could slave servant nurture a flying sword. Doing so can help dad expand his power. You are indeed filial. Could it be you never thought that this matter is very dangerous? Su Xing smiled. Life in the Vermilion Bird territory is inherently very dangerous, and there are things to fear. Princess Yan shook her head. Deng Rongxin scowled coldly and looked at Su Xing. Your servant sees you are not an ordinary person. Just what sort of person are you? Rongxin, do not be rude to master. I, the fiery-eyed swan and I, has only the princess as her master in this life. This man had best understand this point. Should you do anything shameless to the princess, your servant will not watch with folded arms. Rongxin. Princess Yan's tone sunk. Deng Rongxin's eyes were lion-like in their resolve. You think I would want her body? Su Xing's such frank words made the 2 girls stumped and bashful. A while longer, and then I shall leave. Starting from today, you shall help me properly manage this Firehorn Mountain. Su Xing was unconcerned. I fear that I will not return for a considerably long time. Master will leave just like this. Could it be you will not rest for the night? Tuoba Yan's eyes concealed some pleasant surprise. Deng Rongxin felt this was odd, for she originally believed this man that grabbed her breast was certain to do something obscene. The half-moon had nearly set. How could Su Xing have any sort of happy mood? You may withdraw first. Carefully study, and do not make me disappointed. Slave servant understands. Princess Yan neatly excused herself from the main hall. By the time she left, a golden book flew out. Its pages flipped and stopped on a certain page. Star position. Whole star name, Deng Fei nickname. Fiery-eyed swan and I true name, Deng Rongxin rank, 49th star weapon. Raging Heaven Starfire Hammer 2-star, Star Beast. Rank, Realm, 1000 Military's 5th stage innate skill. Crimson Pupils Flame Hair, 8-5 elements. Fire Yellow rank special skill. Fire and I Ripping / Swan and I Skyward Roar Flame, 9 current status. Contractor, Tuoba Yan. It seems my martial force is just about at the 1000 Military's 5th stage. Su Xing muttered to himself. That isn't accurate. If we really continued to engage, the one who'd have lost certainly would be me. Su Xing shook his head, denying his conjecture just now. This sort of guess really was somewhat conceited. To confront a martial force star general, it was still best to not let her get close. Not a moment after, Great King Firehorn brought over the 4 pieces of Karma Fire Spirit Stones. These Karma Fire Spirit Stones used heavenly fire to form, and less than 10 had condensed in Firehorn Mountains several hundred years. The majority had been used, and now, these 4 were what remained. Taking the Karma Fire Spirit Stones, Su Xing then briefed him on some other things. At this time, he suddenly recalled the matter of Wang Dinglu. He asked, the affair of the birth treasure outline, are you aware of what happened? Great King Firehorn nodded. Because Tuoba Yen was also a star master, he would concern himself about the birth treasure outline. However, in plundering that purple star birth outline, there were more than 100 demi-clans, demon kings, and all 4 mountains moving out. By his strength he could only watch. Right, tell me about the things of the Star Masters and this birth treasure outline. Su Xing thought. He was not extremely knowledgeable about the Vermilion Bird territory, and he just so happened to be able to use this opportunity to know the rough idea about these. As you wish. Great King Firehorn did not dare be neglectful. For the sake of his daughter's star duels, he was actually surprisingly detailed about the Vermilion Bird territory's Star Masters. The Vermilion Bird territory's 3 most famous Star Master were Falling Dragon Mountain's Lady Snake Scorpion, Immeasurable Mountain's Wuxia, and Silver Night Mountain's Shiqinchin. 2. For the current star duels, every large group's influence would contend against each other. Without first mentioning that a wish could finally be granted, the status of having a Star Master was naturally very honorable. Among these 3 Star Masters, the one most deserving of fear was Lady Snake Scorpion. Su Xing already knew this point, and in regards to Immeasurable Mountains Wuxia and Silver Night Mountains Shiqinchin, they were also formidable characters. However, they were not worth a mention compared to Lady Snake Scorpion. Although Lady Snake Scorpion was only Nebula late stage, her entire body of goo poison arts was very incredible. When she originally battled with Wuxia and Shiqinchin, she utterly defeated the 2, and no one in the Vermilion Bird territory dared to irritate her. Speaking more of the business of that purple star birth treasure outline plunder, was also very bizarre. The forbid dance that limited only Star Masters was very quickly broken, and the result was that several tens of thousands of demi-soldiers entered a confused melee. In the end, that birth treasure outline steel unexpectedly had been struck open, and the birth treasure outline rose above everyone. Everyone had set their sights on snatching it, but not a single one of them had thought a silhouette would flash past and take the birth treasure outline into a sack. By the time everyone had noticed Wang Dinglu, she had already disappeared without a trace. At this time, Great King Firehorn had wanted to take advantage of the situation, thus saw and clearly understood, which made him feel disbelief. However, the Vermilion Bird territory now was layers of blockades. Wang Dinglu thus found it difficult to escape, and the rumor was that she currently had fled to the North District next to Deer Pursuit. Great King Firehorn had also assigned people to pay close attention to Wang Dingliu's movements. From the moment Su Xing left Firehorn Mountain, Great King Firehorn still did not stop urging him to stay. Su Xing was already very tired of acting as the deeply hidden adept. How could he have the energy to stay longer? After Su Xing left, he still fully thought of things about Wang Dinglu. That living goddess of lightning honestly was formidable. She probably accurately calculated that the Vermilion Bird territory's birth treasure outline plunder would be chaotic, and only then did she come to this place. He never expected that the birth treasure outline would be seized by one of the ranked last star generals, which could be considered a rare sight. You are all right. Outside Firehorn Mountain, Chu He interrupted Su Xing's thoughts. Seeing she had still stayed, Su Xing felt surprised. And why did you not leave? You saved me, so it would be better to go together with you. Chu He said. If I did not come out, then you would have waited this idly? Su Xing smiled. If you stay here, then you should inform me. Chu He carefully said. Let us leave for now. Right, do not tell anyone about this matter. N. Chu He nodded. Su Xing said nothing more. The two then flew towards Mount Danxia on their riding swords. North District, deep in the mountains. The moon was dark, and the winds were high. Within the forest came the sounds of shouts. A silhouette just like a winding snake traveled back and forth in the forest. Black lights seemingly cut open the moonlight and flashed past. These people were currently in pursuit of a young girl. You stupid idiots, there was a long drawn-out voice. The girl confronting several dozen people in deadly pursuit seemingly treated this as a game. She was not in a flying escape, but it really was not a fast movement. Rather, by a sort of instantaneous movement style, she swiftly moved about. Every flicker was practically even faster than the blink of an eye. She could move several dozen times within one breath. And although the people chasing from behind had cultivations that were extraordinary, with artifacts and magic weapons that were also out of the ordinary, they were unfortunately no match for that maiden's flash movement. There was a sort of humiliation being made fools. Living goddess of lightning. This immortal wants to see just how far you can run. This immeasurable mountain is entirely the ancestral master's domain. If you obediently send the birth treasure outline this way, not only will Founder let you go, he will even give you a star master. What say you? A man yelled. In the deep mountains and old forests, in its quiet and seclusion, his voice was very ear-piercing. What replied was a giggling voice. So it turned out that immeasurable mountains Wuxia is an idiot. That Wuxia man angrily gnashed his teeth. He was precisely immeasurable mountain's star master. Originally he had planned to refine here, but he never expected to run into the living goddess of light Wang Dinglu in a curious coincidence. In a momentary blossoming of the flower of excitement, he convened more than a dozen disciples to encircle and kill. It was a pity this inferior star's flash jump, 3, honestly was fucking disgusting. Normal artifacts and arrays simply were incapable of trapping her, and in the end, it developed into an exhausting chase to kill. Fortunately, this hanging head mountain was the domain of Zhaohua Mountain. Wuxia presumed she was a trapped beast. Young master, there is no need to speak more nonsense. This general shall see to what time she can persevere. Beside Wuxia, a gown-wearing girl holding a red iron staff set in a bored manner. Her eyes were seemingly clear and acute as a falcon's. Her figure was like a deer's, strong and healthy. Several times, she was close to striking down Wang Dinglu. Elder sister can try. Wang Dinglu instantly disappeared. Within the mountain forests, she executed unbelievable movements. Atop Hanging Head Mountain, the moonlight had been enshrouded by black clouds, presenting a desolate appearance. A figure emerged. Wang Dinglu yawned, and she watched the Star Master and the rest still chasing below. This is truly a headache. Wherever I go, it is not peaceful. Did I not just take one book? This book belongs to us star generals anyways. The living goddess of light's wrist flipped, and a golden scroll appeared. Then it would be better to come to elder sister's side. Completely without warning, a lofty voice abruptly sounded out behind her. Wang Dinglu instantly turned around. She saw a woman of mediocre facial features wearing a blue and white palace skirt. If one were to not look at her face, then hearing her voice would make one believe she was an absolute beauty. If Su Xing were present, he would probably be astonished. She was Qingxi, and it was unexpected that the Wang Dinglu hiding in the boundless mountain ranges of the Vermilion Bird Territory and Azure Dragon Territory would be encountered by her. It was also unknown whether this was a coincidence or deliberate. Wang Dinglu's expression concentrated, and Qingxi's white hand waved. She tossed out a green ring, and this ring became a green shadow that coiled over. Wang Dinglu had not yet returned to her senses when that green shadow wrapped around her entire body, becoming a dragon that tightly constricted her. No matter what Wang Dinglu did, she could not move in the slightest. The originally smug living goddess of lightning's complexion greatly changed. A purple star-grade astral treasure. She had never heard of such a powerful star master that could control a purple star-grade astral treasure. Just who are you? Qingxi stepped delicately in Wang Dinglu's direction, and at the same time, she picked up that birth treasure outline. Wang Dinglu's guts churned with regret. She had always shot at the birds, but this time, she had been pecked by them. The woman smiled. Finding little sister certainly was not easy. The birth treasure outline pointed at Wang Dinglu flipped open, and a passage of information appeared. Star position, inferior star name, Wang Dinglu nickname. Living goddess of lightning true name. Rank, 104th star weapon. Thunder roll lightning flash 5, 4 star, star beast. Rank realm, heavenly clothes 7th stage innate skill. Flash movement 6-5 elements. Earth yellow rank special skill. Lightning flash 7 dark rank special skill. Thunderclap, 8 current status. No contractor can be conquered. Detailed materials. Incredible, incredible. I never thought little sister's star weapon would unexpectedly be 4 star. Qingxi lightly smiled. She extended a hand and waved. That astral treasure became a dragon shadow that entered her sleeve. I wonder what little sister's true name is? Wang Dinglu looked at Qingxi with indefinite gloom. And lightning exploded in her hand. Who is your little sister? Don't think just because you are a woman that you can feel that you are an elder sister. Her hands flicked, and a thunderbolt blossomed. Dark rank style. Thunderclap. Kacha. The thunderbolt had been instantly smashed to pieces. A cold-as-ice woman appeared at Qingxi's side. She was Longkue. If you are not willing to follow elder sister, then it would be better to kill you. Longkue said nothing further. She raised the gloom around her two hands. Longkue, be a bit gentler towards little sister. Qingxi barred Longkue. Wang Dinglu looked at Longkue, brimming with alarm. At this time, Wu Ji and the crowd he brought finally encircled Wang Dinglu. Bring the birth treasure outline over, and Immeasurable Mountain will let you all go this time. Wu Ji coldly said. The young girl holding the red long staff obstructed Wu Ji's front, as if she was facing a formidable enemy. Young master, be careful. Yenner. 9. Seeing as star generals are merely so, everyone immediately activate the array. So it turned out to be little sister remote star tiger slaying General Li Zhong. Ten Qingxi smiled very warmly. Wang Dinglu, are you willing to scale to the peak together with your servant? If you can get out, then we can talk. Wang Dinglu dodged and she jumped 1,000 meters away sneering. Meanwhile, the cold woman Longkue was already impatient, and raised the gloom weapon in her to cut Wu Ji down. The red light that tiger slaying General Li Zhong's star weapon, 100 Beasts Mountain Shaking Staff. 11 raised was a yellow rank style. Tiger Expulsion Beyond Stream. 12 bang a heavy pressure easily broke her yellow rank style. Pressing enough to make the tiger slaying General Li Yan's legs bend. She nearly knelt, startling her. You are. 5 Color City. Wuxia watched the sky where there was another falling star, and her brows wrinkled even more deeply. Suddenly, she saw a silhouette fly at high speed towards the pavilion. Wuxia's tight brows finally smoothed out. So it turned out you are still alive? The one who approached was Su Xing. Su Xing grinned. Xiao, if you actually thought I died, you would have already no longer stayed in this place. Wuxia was left dumbstruck by Su Xing's words, but she nevertheless was unwilling to easily show it. She coldly said, you were chased by the Rock Demon King enough that the entire Vermilion Bird territory knows. You truly are too audacious. Pausing, Wuxia brought out a bottle of medicine. These are spring waters become rain pills. 13 You had best not let something happen to you. Your servant certainly does not wish for Ingmei to blame me. Su Xing laughed and unceremoniously took the bottle. Is Gong Sun Huang still all right? I have Xie Bao's blood, so half of the goo poison should be able to be cured. Su Xing thought. Wu Xio stared at Su Xing, as if she wanted to see through him. However, the more she looked, the more her heart was distracted, her thoughts in turmoil. For the world to have a star master the likes of you, truly, this is a matter your servant is incapable of understanding. I hear signing a contract allows us to easily comprehend each other. Su Xing chuckled. Say those words to Gong Sun Huang. Wu Xio turned and entered the hall. Su Xing was stunned. He entered the hall and heard a clear voice. You have come back. Su Xing turned his head, only to see that Gong Sun Huang was already floating over. Like a doll, she peacefully sat upon his shoulder. Your complexion is somewhat unwell. Su Xing saw that Gong Sun Huang's complexion was increasingly unsightly. His heart had some worry, and he brought her into the living room. I'll first help cure you of the poison. Gong Sun Huang shook her head. That pair of eyes, seemingly unsullied by the world's dust, had a sort of magic charisma. Are you willing to sign a contract with Gong Sun Huang? The girl asked very softly. Each word was nevertheless very clear. Are you willing to stay by my side? Su Xing smiled and asked in turn. Gong Sun Huang suddenly lowered her head and kissed Su Xing's lips. Instantly, as if a cool breeze blew past their hearts, their foreheads immediately each twinkled with the light of stars, and Su Xing heard 3 words. 3 words light as feathers, but heavy like Mount Tai. I am willing. Gong Sun Huang ended the kiss and blinked. Her pupils deep as a lake had only a tranquility while Su Xing had somewhat not yet come back to his senses. On the middle of his and Gong Sun Huang's foreheads appeared a scorching mark. A star energy flowed into his body, and the originally extreme repercussions of using the chaotic tail escape had been cured in the blink of an eye. This sort of feeling was the characteristic of contracting a star general. We contracted? Su Xing's mouth hung open, for he was very surprised that Gong Sun Huang agreed so neatly. You actually have so much trust in me? Su Xing asked her. Gong Sun Huang tilted her head, seemingly pondering a bit before nodding. The Wuxia to the side leaned against the wall. She did not show much astonishment at Su Xing and Gong Sun Huang signing a star dual covenant, because Gong Sun Huang's goo poison had already become grave. If she did not enter a star nest to recover, perhaps she truly would have been crippled. Furthermore, ever since after the Rock Demon King fully used the giant rock spreads its wings and flies 90,000 li for a chase to kill that shocked the entire Vermilion Bird territory, the land bustled with discussion regarding the target of the Rock Demon King's deadly pursuit. Wuxia very easily guessed correctly just who the Rock Demon King was chasing. To be frank, when she learned that Su Xing was unexpectedly being pursued by Great Sage Falling Sky, there was an instant that Wuxia felt extreme shock. A galaxy stage by himself had surprisingly dared to provoke a supervoid's agitation and anger, leading to a chase to kill across the entire sky. This completely toppled the notions that Wuxia had regarding cultivator ranks. Even if it was her right now, she herself would not go actually provoke the Rock Demon King. Especially after she knew that Xiebao's death was what incited the Rock Demon King. Wuxia's mood was even more complicated. She felt Su Xing was very stupid to unexpectedly provoke an insufferable opponent for the sake of a star general that was unrelated to himself. But from another perspective, she felt Su Xing was very crafty. Wuxia felt if she encountered such a star master, she would inevitably have her interest piqued. Actually, Wuxia had believed Su Xing would use the jade pendant to escape to his home. After all, the opponent used the Vermilion Bird territory's unrivaled super escape technique. Even Wuxia had prepared to depart, but something happened that Su Xing would never have expected. What's that? Su Xing asked. Wuxia glanced at Gong Sun Huang and replied. Gong Sun Huang said you would return. Su Xing was stunned. He looked oddly at the girl on his shoulders. Do you believe in me this much? Gong Sun Huang nodded. Your servant said that even if you actually escaped the Rock Demon King's pursuit by a fluke, for you to return, you certainly would experience a heavy calamity and become a cripple, undoubtedly. Wuxia said. Are you suicidal? Even if you do not cherish your own life, think about Ing Mei. This sentence's tone carried strictness. Who could have known the Rock Demon King was at Five Poisons Mountain? Su Xing was helpless. Wuxia and Gong Sun Huang very inquisitively listened to Su Xing's encounter. When they heard that Su Xing used a type of unprecedented chaotic tail escape technique to surprisingly contend against the Rock Demon King's giant rock spreads its wings and flies 90,000 li, they felt genuinely shocked. Gong Sun Huang even used her small hand to tenderly stroke Su Xing's face, with a somewhat sorry expression. Su Xing felt that Gong Sun Huang, so simply signing a contract with him could possibly be as Wuxia had said. Even if he returned, he would undoubtedly have suffered injuries and taken advantage of the Star Dual Covenant to rise from the dead, like a cripple. Although Su Xing had gone through half a month of recovery and was halfway there, this Star Dual Covenant actually certainly made Su Xing recover to peak condition. This was more useful than any miracle cures or recuperation training. After she swallowed Xiebao's blood to suppress the goo poison, Gong Sun Huang's wan complexion recovered a bit of color. Afterwards, she entered the star nest. There is a matter I want to ask you. Wuxia suddenly recalled something. What matter? Su Xing asked. That day you left, Holy Mother Qixia's representative came seeking you. Holy Mother Qixia? Su Xing was taken aback. This was somewhat outside his expectations, and his brow furrowed. Holy Mother Qixia is Mount Danxia's Demon King? What's she doing looking for me? I'm not even familiar with her. You used pure gold of 1 billion at an auction? Wuxia was expressionless. She seemingly came for this purpose, This is an invitation card. The harm star threw the invitation to Su Xing. The card unexpectedly invited the Su Xing married couple. Su Xing was at a loss. How does this Holy Mother Qixia know we're husband and wife? Hearing Su Xing's husband and wife description, Wuxia's brow knit together. However, she did not feel like arguing over this. Did you attend? Su Xing asked her. Wuxia disdainfully jeered. How could your servant possibly be interested in this sort of thing? Besides, who that Holy Mother invited was you, and your servant certainly would not accompany her. Nevertheless, since you did not attend, her people have urged several times. Su Xing nodded. In his mind he suddenly heard Gong Sun Huang's voice. The harm star continuously acted as your wife to decline. Gong Sun Huang said indifferently. Su Xing was stunned, and he could not help but laugh. What are you laughing at? Wuxia said, annoyed. She felt that smile of Su Xing's brimmed with banter. Nothing at all. Su Xing looked at this card. There would be a banquet tonight, and since Holy Mother Qixia urgently needed gold, having a meeting with the overlord of this Mount Danxia was not a big loss. Su Xing raised his head, and his gaze directly fixed on Wuxia. What are you looking at? Wuxia bluntly wrapped herself in her cloak, covering her supple figure. Su Xing laughed aloud. Let's go together tonight. Wuxia said nothing. In truth, she was very interested in this Holy Mother Qixia and very much wanted to know what plans she had for Su Xing. Right, however, on the card, we are husband and wife. That Holy Mother Qixia and the Azure Dragon territory have a close relationship. And the rumor is that the Shifting Flower Sword sect emerged from the East District. At that time, there would be no shortage of Azure Dragon territory cultivators. In order to not arouse suspicion, I have a suggestion for our act. Su Xing muttered to himself. Wuxia perceptively felt that Su Xing had some terrible idea, and she asked in a meaningful tone. Oh? Then what do you plan on having your servant do? Is it only to pretend we are husband and wife? Her white fingers lightly drummed empty space, and the airflow between her fingers indistinctly formed a line. It seemed she would unceremoniously cast it if Su Xing were to utter some frivolous line. Su Xing glances at Wuxia's white hands, and he said very earnestly, might as well fabricate a husband and wife address to fool them. Husband and wife address? Wuxia's tapping fingers stopped. Xio, you wouldn't address me as Lord Husband, right? Su Xing smiled. Wuxia snorted, nodding without the slightest hesitation. Although she addressed herself as your servant, for her to address another man as Lord Husband? That was really dreaming. Not having castrated this man was considered a miracle. But you like to self-address as your servant. If you don't address me as Lord Husband, wouldn't that arouse the suspicion of others? Su Xing said. Wuxia nodded. Apparently, she felt that what Su Xing said was very logical. It seemed this man actually was not incorrigible. Then how do you plan to do this? Let's arrange an address for each other, just to let others think we are a married couple. What address? Su Xing pretended to ponder for a moment. I'll just address you as dearest wife, and you address me as dearest husband. To dearest wife? Dearest husband? No matter what, Wuxia felt these names sounded very strange. Is your servant very old? 3. The so-called naturally refers to the white hairs of old age. Then, represents the female gender. Represents male. Outsiders that hear this would naturally feel this would be related to a husband and wife. Su Xing extravagantly embellished his explanation. This makes others feel it pertains to married coupled, and won't arouse suspicion of us. How isn't this two birds with one stone? Wuxia furrowed her brow. Where did you hear of this? What's the matter? Su Xing asked her. Although Wuxia felt this address sounded incongruous, when Su Xing put it that way, she thought it over and concluded these were names for married couples. She would lose nothing calling out this sort of address, and she nodded. As you wish. Dearest wife, shall we practice first? Su Xing awfully wanted to smile. What is there to practice about this? Wuxia said disdainfully. You must treat anything you do with earnestness. Su Xing sternly said. Could it be the Grand Harmstar is fond of being undisciplined? Dearest husband, Do not use psychological tactics on your servant. Wuxia coldly smiled. Dearest husband, of your servant's words, are you satisfied? Su Xing sighed. For this cool and elegant Wuxia to say the two words, dearest husband, was incomparable ecstasy as expected. Worthy of being called your servant's dearest wife, so quickly have you entered the role. Su Xing praised. Dearest husband, you are not bad either? Speaking this fabricated address so smoothly. Wuxia's fingers rolled her long hair that fell before her chest, her smile enchanting and mysterious. Who let dearest wife Xio be this cool and elegant? Any man would be smooth. Su Xing chuckled. Wuxia felt the man before her had a sort of pleasure derived from getting away with something. Dearest husband. Suddenly, when Wuxia said these words, her expression concentrated. Dearest wife, what is the matter? Su Xing was confused. Dearest husband, go die. Wuxia bit her lip, harumphed, turned and walked away. That long hair fluttered like a galaxy, indescribably poetic. Why would the magnificent Harmstar pilgrim do such senseless practice with this man truly? Her brain was broken. Su Xing stared at her back. It was quite a pity that Wuxia had realized his scheme so quickly. The dearest husband that Wuxia said honestly was very satisfying to a man's vanity. More than 10 li outside of Five Colors City, a cloaked woman emitted a chilly aura from head to foot, and she was encircled by several tall and sturdy men. Take her down. One man shouted. The next instant, the cold woman's alluring figure was like a graceful wind. She suddenly rushed forth, completely the distance to the men. She seemed to turn her body lightning quick, stepping across a space of several zhang. She came to the side of a man, and without saying a word, she directly made a slanted chop with her hand. From her palm chop came a power that was more bone-chilling than any weapon. The man extended his hand to block it. That thick and solid arm had a powerful contrast to the woman's supple hand, but though it was a palm, the movement was simply too fast to see a shadow. Along with the chop, there was a sudden soft sound in the air, just like something had shattered. A distinct red line immediately emerged. The man's face greatly changed, for there simply was not enough time to react. This man hurriedly protected himself with both hands, fully releasing his self-protection artifacts. The faint red ripple immediately surged like a tide, and a distinct partition suddenly emerged before his eyes, striking against the red abnormality the woman's chop brought without any ceremony. Kacha! A crisp shattering noise once again rang, a violent reaction simply outside of the imagination. The detached woman's thrust was seemingly ordinary, but actually matchlessly valiant. The opponent's barrier was ruptured as if it was an eggshell. The man stumbled backwards, and when he came close to a large tree, his neck sprayed a fountain of blood several meters high. His pupils seemed to melt away while he wobbled around before he fell. The others were astonished. What sort of person are you? The woman's cloak fell. Those vermilion pupils had an indescribable apathy, yet when she gazed in the direction of Five Colors City, they had a sort of indescribable softness. The horizon washed clean anyone, smiting with its light. It flowed with the 1,000-year wine of an immortal, becoming several clothes for the Lingshan. Mount Danxia's Red Cloud Hall too on its summit was the Vermilion Bird Territory's famous beautiful scenery. This hall was established on a peak of 800 zhang, completely constructed from iridescent colored glass. It glittered at the red clouds, and when seen from far away, the entire summit was cloaked in red clouds, appearing to be dazzling. Outside the main hall, ranks of mighty demi-soldiers stood guard, protecting with utmost strictness. They strictly prohibited those of untenure rank from entering. These demi-soldiers were majestic and formidable, impressive in appearance. They did not have a demi-clan's unusual appearance, but their eyes had clarity. Their lips were like saber cuts, or their hands held long halberds, or large axes, or spears. They all were equally splendid in the light. Propitious vapors circulated, so it seemed this was a pretty good artifact, placed in the Azure Dragon territory, and that would be an item that would make the mouths of many cultivators water. Above all, the imperial guards of this gate and the leader of that squad of soldiers had armor with circulating talisman script. the essence light of their eyes shot everywhere, and their bones were developed. Surprisingly, they were all military cultivators who were only that little bit off compared to a demi-king. The atmosphere within Red Cloud Hall's main hall was joyful, with continuous happy laughter. Yet on the outside, the atmosphere was nervous. Not a single person was idle, and there were only each and every one of those demi-clan beauties, their bodies wearing a token that distinguished their identity. They traveled to and fro, amidst the chirping and her fragrance. But even if it was these demi-clan beauties, every single one had reserved star energy, their cultivations masterful. When Su Xing and Wuxia came forward to attend the banquet, they somewhat praised the scene they saw before them. It proved itself to be Mount Danxia's strategic location, for the entries and exits were not to be trifled with. The one who controlled this Mount Danxia was the Vermilion Bird Territory's most famous beauties, the 100 Flowers clan. 3. The females of the clan all were beautiful ladies that were out of this world. Beauties that captivated even birds and beasts, and looking now, it was a fully justified reputation. This Red Cloud Hall was located in the surrounding Xiashan. The palaces were continuous, and the red light extended 10 li, a scene that was extremely spectacular. After sending the invitation card up, a maid then guided Su Xing and Wuxia into the main hall. The main hall was immense beyond compare. Rows of pillars glorious as the morning glow glistened. The sunset-colored tiles laid over the floor did not have the slightest of cracks and were entirely lavish. Although Su Xing had been ceremoniously invited, he was at most only a galaxy early stage. He was an unknown minor character, and after he entered the main hall, there was no one to greet him. Su Xing happily idled, engrossed as he sized up the people who came. Above Red Cloud's palace, the gold and jade in glorious splendor, the light fog canopy, the layer of rosy clouds, the desolate music, 10 people wore palace dresses. Demi-clan beauties wearing light muslin were in the middle of a dance. On both sides, there were several crystal jade tables, with fine liquor and delicacies, rare and odd fruits on display. The aroma assailed the nostrils, and others ate with gusto. Beauties, good wine, delicious food and spirit fruit. This simply was a day only the immortals could enjoy. Su Xing noticed an odd phenomenon. Although it was the Holy Mother Qixia who invited him, all who came were surprisingly Azure Dragon Territory cultivators. For the shifting flower sect to flourish in the Azure Dragon Territory, it was all because we had all of our fellows to rely on. Do me the honors, today, we invite our Azure Dragon Territory fellows. However, it is a party, so seek pleasure, and everyone certainly must not be formal with me. Right above the feast sat a composed and dignified beauty. She fully smiled, and her white hand held a golden goblet, swallowing top-quality wine within in one gulp. This beauty wore a Qixia crown on her head, and her body was draped in 5-colored phoenix red cloud dress. A respectable majesty came from directly head-on, and the ripples of a powerful star energy could be vaguely seen in the 3 zhongs surrounding the beauty. It slightly revolved, and it became countless tiny rainbow vortexes. So long as someone attacked, these rainbow vortexes would rapidly swirl, twisting the invading artifacts or magic weapons to pieces, utterly overbearing. By Su Xing's seeing clearly skill. 5. Even if he did not use divine intent to sense it, he could see that this woman's cultivation was supervoid stage at the minimum. It appeared that she was Holy Mother Qixia, unmistakably. The words Holy Mother Qixia spoke made Su Xing gain a whole new level of respect for her. Because of her supervoid stage cultivation, she had no need to foster any friendly relations with these cultivators, but she showed natural and unrestrained conduct. Her modesty that had etiquette was completely unlike the arrogant supervoid cultivator in the rumors, so it was no wonder the foreign shifting flower sect that entered the Azure Dragon Territory could swiftly become one of the Azure Dragon Territory's 4 greatsword sects in 100 years' time. If there was such a holy mother behind them, indeed, they could not be underestimated. Su Xing suddenly recalled that in this purple star-grade birth outline plunder, the 4 great sword sects only had the Blooming Water Sword sect and Shifting Flower Sword sect not show up. The Blooming Water Sword sect was because its star master lost interest by means of a falling star. 6. But this shifting flower sect nevertheless not showing its face was somewhat strange. On second thoughts, according to Mount Danxia's influence, the shifting flower sword sect vying for the Vermilion Bird Territory's birth treasure outline was within reason. Su Xing and Wu Xiao chatted as they ate, quietly monitoring their surroundings. Brother Su Xing. He suddenly heard a loud shout. Su Xing turned his head to look. An extremely pretty man walked towards him. He had not seen Fang Xianggu for a few days, yet he was increasingly handsome. Even Su Xing was somewhat envious. At Fang Xianggu's side, Zheng Yanran absent-mindedly looked around as she ate crystal cake. I never expected to see Brother Fang here. Su Xing smiled. Fang Xianggu somewhat apologetically cupped his fists. Holy Mother Qixia had inquired your servant about Brother Su Xing's affairs, and your servant implores that you not take offense. It was you who exposed us to her? Wu Xiao's tone was cold. Your servant must also thank Brother Fang, otherwise, we would not have the honor to be able to experience this spectacular Qixia treasure palace. Su Xing smiled, not showing much surprise. In the Vermilion Bird Territory, the sole person who knew his identity was only Fang Xianggu. On that day at the auction, he and Fang Xianggu formed a relationship, so it was very easy to deduce just who Holy Mother Qixia found to ask her inquiries. Where did you go the past few days? Zheng Yanran licked her lips and asked. Just wandering randomly about the Vermilion Bird Territory. Tisk, unexpectedly making elder sister Xiao guard a lady's bedroom alone. Su Xing laughed out loud. He again turned to Fang Xianggu to find out this dinner entertainment business. Only then did he know that for those who came from the Azure Dragon territory, as long as they were a supercluster stage cultivator, they had been invited. As if there was something going on, the 10 great sects and their supercluster stage founders have arrived in person. It seems something is about to happen. Fang Xianggu muttered in a low voice. Su Xing clicked his tongue. As expected in this world, an invitation without good reason to a feast was not a happy occasion. There was no such thing as a free lunch. Brother Xianggu, will you not introduce this gorgeous beauty? 4 or 5 men and women walked over. The one speaking was a man in an elegant blue robe with pointed brows and starry eyes. His face was like crown jade, and he looked intelligent. Wu Xiao's supreme cool elegance had already made many of the male cultivators present endlessly interested, but due to Wu Xiao's galaxy late-stage cultivation, they did not dare be rash. The cultivation of this man hitting on her was also galaxy late-stage. He had a bit of a friendship with Fang Xianggu, and seeing Fang Xianggu chat so happily, he could not help but wait for an opportunity to step forward. As far as the Su Xing next to Wu Xia was concerned, he was completely ignored. A galaxy early-stage cultivator was not worth his attention. This is fellow Su Xing. Fang Xianggu said. This is fellow Long Outyin. 7. Long Outyin faintly nodded, his eyes gazing at Wu Xiao. This is fellow Su Xing's first wife. Fang Xianggu saw his gaze and was somewhat unable to recognize his intentions, so he hastily spoke. Oh, his wife, ha what? Long Outyin suddenly shouted. Each and every one of the cultivators that came with him were somewhat astonished. In the majority of dual cultivators, which one would not have the male cultivator above the female cultivator? Seeing that Wu Xia was unexpectedly higher than Su Xing by 2 realms of cultivation, they had believed Su Xing was but only a gigolo. This Long has truly made an error in judgment. Long Outyin jeered. Fellow Su Xing is indeed very fortunate to be able to have this pretty beauty as his wife. It seems that fellow Su Xing must have some sort of outstanding aspect, otherwise, how could this beautiful woman care for you? This Long would like to ask for guidance. Ha, of course your servant has an outstanding aspect. Su Xing showed a crafty smile. How could the cultivators present not discern the ambiguity in Su Xing's words? Everyone was then disdainful and angered. Fang Xianggu promptly mediated. He said, Today is Holy Mother Qixia's feast. Everyone is a fellow citizen of the Azure Dragon territory, so you must not ruin your composure. The Holy Mother has taken notice of us. For the fellow Su Xing who has such a beautiful woman, take care that you do not suffer misfortune preventing you from enjoying her. Long Outyin harumphed. leaving behind words that were seemingly threatening yet not. He bowed, turned and left. His expression sure enough was lofty to the heavens, and the cultivators that were with him together bowed and left. This Long Outyin is of Twin Dragon's Mountain. He has some background, and his natural disposition is conceited. Your servant asks that Su Xing not mind. Fang Xian Gu said. Nothing could be done. Who let my waifu be too cool and elegant? Su Xing looked mockingly at Wuxia. Wuxia was calm and collected as a dry well. Her eyes were actually continuously on Holy Mother Qixia. That Holy Mother Qixia has come looking for you, Wuxia said. Sure enough, a maid then walked before them. She greeted them in a warm voice. Holy Mother Qixia has invited you too. Please follow slave servant. Su Xing affirmed and took his leave from Fang Xian Gu, departing the main hall together with this maid. Passing through a long corridor, they entered a hall within the hall. Atop the hall, Holy Mother Qixia sat upright, her eyes tightly closed. Multicolored light circulated about her body very solemnly. Su Xing took notice of this and did not see any traps at all in this, but he did not dare lower his guard. Holy Mother Qixia has requested to see your servant, and I wonder for what matter. Su Xing cupped his fists. Holy Mother Qixia opened her eyes. She wore a kind smile, and she hinted at him to sit. Fellow Su Xing has truly kept me waiting. My wife's body has a weak constitution, so your servant went on search of some medicine ingredients. There were many delays, so your servant must beg forgiveness. Su Xing spoke out his prepared excuse. Holy Mother Qixia, I wonder how those Fine Ladies Meridian Supplement pills were? Fine Ladies Meridian Supplement pills? Su Xing glanced at Wuxia, and the latter turned her gaze away. Holy Mother has made this Su overwhelmed by her favor. Su Xing smiled. No matter, for your majesty to have this beautiful a wife, certainly you must cherish her well. Holy Mother Qixia smiled. Hearing the two blather on about her status as a wife, Wuxia was disinclined to take notice. In reality, I sought out your majesty because I heard your majesty had once made a transaction of 1 billion in pure gold at an auction. Su Xing nodded. This indeed happened. Your servant does not know the one who was fond of gold, but they have let your servant have good fortune. Those items that your majesty purchased were actually sold by me. Your servant never expected it to be Holy Mother Qixia. Could it be the Holy Mother has regrets? Su Xing could not help but feel this was strange. May I ask, does your majesty still have pure gold? Holy Mother Qixia's feigned careless appearance made Su Xing smell a hint of getting rich. Your servant had obtained several mountains of gold by a fluke, and actually still has some. Su Xing narrowed his eyes. As expected, it is as I thought. Holy Mother Qixia gently laughed. She glanced at the maid to her side, hinting to the maid. She clapped, and several maids beautiful as flowers entered the hall. In their hands, they each carried a red embroidered box, half kneeling on a single knee before Su Xing. Holy Mother Qixia extended her hand and swept. The embroidered boxes all opened, and inside each was an item or a magic medicine, spirit jade, artifact, or magic weapon, their luster glorious, twinkling with the rays of the 5 colors. Each was an extraordinary item, and even Wuxia, with her high kin, could not help but raise her brow. Your servant wonders what intention this is of the Holy Mother? Su Xing asked as he smiled. May I ask, your majesty, how much more pure gold do you have? Holy Mother Qixia asked. 6 billion. Because the Azure Dragon Territory's transactions rarely needed gold, Su Xing mostly used the items from the Heavenly Spirit and Earthly Fiend chests to barter, actually leaving him with a surplus of pure gold. The Holy Mother Qixia before him unexpectedly needing gold made Su Xing somewhat curious, for the reason that the Vermilion Bird territory was not at all abundant in minerals. Gold was thus even scarcer. Could Holy Mother Qixia collecting gold like this mean she had some use for it? 6 billion. Holy Mother Qixia stared blankly. Su Xing's numbers were clearly far greater than she had anticipated. She somewhat stared oddly at Su Xing. Although the Azure Dragon territory was abundant in gold, Gathering this much absolutely was not easy. Perhaps only dynasties and overlords like Emperor Liang could have this kind of national power. However, the Azure Dragon territory's hermits were numerous. Obtaining 10 billion through such a happy encounter was not impossible. This actually is more than what I wanted. Holy Mother Qixia briefly muttered to herself. She looked at Su Xing and said, "How does your majesty feel about these items? I would like to use these to exchange for that 6 billion liang of gold." Su Xing glanced about. Some things were indeed pretty good, with even that 1,000-year medicinal ginseng being present, but it was still unworthy for Su Xing to exchange. Seeing that Holy Mother Qixia urgently needed such great quantities of gold, if he did not make this demon king of Mount Danxia take out something that would move him, how would Su Xing be satisfied? Although gold can be said to be not too free-flowing among the Azure Dragon territory's star cultivators, your servant also has some use for it. Though these items are fine, Holy Mother, they are completely useless to your servant. Those 1,000-year medicinal ginseng roots are but a good medicine to give your wife to mend her body. Waifu, what do you say? Su Xing glanced sideways at Wuxia. Wuxia pursed her lips, her expression clearly stating she was uninterested. That red cloud cloak is a magic weapon. It can guard against water and fire, defy hellfire, and it can also resist sealing script. If this was the Azure Dragon territory, this item is worth several billion. Holy Mother Qixia faintly smiled, pointing to a rainbow-colored immortal's clothing. That immortal's clothing was indeed extraordinary, its treasure light bubbling forth, talisman script flashing. It should have no problem being valued at 3 billion, but the problem was that this magic weapon was even more useless to Su Xing. Looking at the apathetic Wuxia, Su Xing feigned helplessness. Holy Mother Qixia smiled, but she was not angry. She could tell that the married couple before her was always steady and calm. To remain unmoved, it was evident they had seen even more rare items. Otherwise, ordinary galaxy stage cultivators would have had a rush of excitement upon seeing these magic medicines and treasures. It seems I have underestimated the ken of you too. The maids collected the items. Holy Mother Qixia pondered a moment. Then she used sound transmission, and a maid nodded, excusing herself. Another maid then filled cups of fine wine for Su Xing and Wuxia. Seeing from your out-of-the-ordinary appearances, I wonder from whence you studied. Holy Mother Qixia drained the jade fluid, feigning leisure as she asked. Your servant and my wife are free and unfettered by nature. We have no school nor sect. Su Xing knew she had begun to doubt his and Wuxia's identities as star cultivators. However, Su Xing was not worried. Even if she found out he was truly a star master, she would not dare do anything. It seems your majesty's wife is apparently somewhat not too happy. I wonder if it was because Red Cloud Hall did not properly greet you? Holy Mother Qixia smiled. This is how my wife is. Your servant asks the Holy Mother to not take offense. Su Xing cupped his hands. Holy Mother Qixia laughed. None taken, none taken. To be able to cultivate to galaxy late stage at such a young age, this makes me feel admiration. Holy Mother Qixia chatted sentence by sentence. Su Xing naturally was quite familiar with this type of sly inquiry of hers to conduct an investigation. Roughly several cups of tea later, 6 maids once again stepped forward with items. This time, the items were not as many, with only 2, and each was covered with a red embroidered cover. These are items of mine that still have some value. If your majesty again does not place them in your eyes, then I truly have nothing else. Su Xing dismissed with a laugh Holy Mother Qixia's words that were apparently both soft and hard. Holy Mother Qixia had the maid open the red cover, and this time, Wuxia very curiously cast her gaze. The first was a piece of jade about the size of 2 fists. This jade was sparkling and translucent, a rainbow light lingering in its interior, its reflected splendor filling the room. This was a piece of excellent rainbow light glass jade. 2. When this jade was sanded into a fine powder and used to pour spirit materials into artifacts and astral tools, it could possibly add a rainbow light. It could resist evil spirits, repel miasma, and particularly as far as female cultivators were concerned, The property of the rainbow light glass jade to emit iridescent and multicolored light received no small measure of love. Furthermore, this rainbow light glass jade could beautify the face and delay aging. In the Azure Dragon territory, it was a madly coveted object, and it was like the makeup that the women of modern society loved. Liangshan continent's high-class ladies were quite fond of this sort of thing. Su Xing estimated that for this large of a quantity, if done properly, it could be sold for 10 billion without a problem. This first piece of rainbow light glass jade made Su Xing somewhat interests. Although it was useless to him, it was pretty good to send as a gift to his now 6 beauties. However, Su Xing remained calm and collected as before. For the so-called business deal, he could not let the other see his own urgency, so as to avoid falling to a disadvantageous position. Holy Mother Wuxia originally used this rainbow light glass jade specifically for Wuxia. Seeing the two were still indifferent, she hinted for the next item. The second item was a massive spirit flower. This flower was verdant and tender, each petal bloomed to the finest part. It had white bell-like buds that were heavy, somewhat similar to the Chinese lantern flower in shape. 3. It emitted a serene scent that seeped into the soul, and a brief sniff could make one feel full of vigor. Upon seeing this item, Su Xing's expression could not help but tremble, his heart surging into a perilous situation. This unexpectedly was Thousand Bells Immortals Dew. The Thousand Bells Immortals Dew was given the name Thousand Bells because the buds appeared similar to little bells, with each possessing 100 flowers. Each bud contained a worldly spiritual power dew, which was known as the Thousand Bells Dew. This was a significant strange flower in the Azure Dragon territory. It grew in places with the quintessence of heaven and earth. During the day, it absorbed morning dew, and during the night, it brewed moonlight. Legends said each Thousand Bells Immortals Dew could let the star energy of star cultivators at or below supercluster stage instantly recover to a complete state, and this was the reason it was called Thousand Bells Immortals Dew. As far as a supercluster stage cultivator was concerned, this simply was a supreme panacea. From time immemorial, Liangshan continent's star energy recovery medicines were mostly expensive and were scarce at best. Naturally formed strange flowers like the Thousand Bells Immortals Dew had each petal valued at a value of at least 10 million and above. This stock was more than 10 billion without doubt. However, panaceas like the Thousand Bells Immortals Dew that could pull strongly against a crazy tide at the critical moment could not possibly be sold by cultivators. Holy Mother Wuxia was a supervoid cultivator, so the Thousand Bells Immortals Dew was useless to her. Seeing that Su Xing and Wuxia were of galaxy cultivation, and thus using it for an exchange, it could be seen she actually would use her hard-earned capital for 6 billion of gold. Of these rainbow light glass jade and Thousand Bells Immortals Dew, Your Majesty can choose one of them for an exchange. Holy Mother Wuxia smiled self-confidently. This rainbow light glass jade was an extremely great attraction towards women, and the Thousand Bells Immortals Dew was a galaxy stage's panacea. She was not afraid of Su Xing being unmoved. Sai Xing muttered to himself. To say that his heart was unmoved was to lie to himself. When he saw the Thousand Bells Immortals Dew, Su Xing had an urge to steal it. His miraculous Bodhi tree practically exhausted his star energy with each single use. If he had this Thousand Bells Immortals Dew, he completely could get rid of the future consequences. With regards to entering the evil smiting hall, there was also much benefit, but Su Xing did not agree without restraint. Rather, he feigned hesitation. Su Xing was a cunning fox. Since this Holy Mother Wuxia dared to bring out 2 items with values exceeding 10 billion, she clearly did not care in the slightest. Otherwise, simply bringing out the Thousand Bells Immortals Dew was sufficient to make Su Xing agree. In other words, what she actually wanted was to rope in Wuxia. Seeing the rainbow light glass jade seemingly prepared just for Wuxia, his thoughts rapidly churned, and Su Xing then had a countermeasure. Could it be these were unable to interest you? Then I truly am helpless. Holy Mother Wuxia laughed. No, Holy Mother is actually too generous. Either of these 2 items brought to the Azure Dragon territory can be valued at more than 10 billion. Su Xing spoke forthrightly. For this value he believed the Mount Danxia overlord's heart was clear. However, since she did not take these to the Azure Dragon territory to exchange for gold, Evidently, there was some secret motive. Holy Mother Qi Xia showed a trace of admiration. As expected, Your Highness is candid. Then I wonder if there are any more misgivings? To be quite honest, these several billions of gold is due to my beloved wife Sio's very significant contributions. This Su does not dare selfishly think only of himself, but Holy Mother has also seen it. My lovely wife already is Galaxy late stage, and on the verge of entry into supercluster stage. This 1,000 bells immortals due is not useful to her, but that rainbow-like glass jade is actually should be accorded to my beloved wife, Su Xing said as he looked deeply affectionately at Wuxia. Wuxia immediately understood the intent of Su Xing's confession. She secretly sneered in her heart, and upon her lips, she faintly said, Lord husband can just take the 1,000 bells immortals due. Your servant naturally thinks of Lord husband. Su Xing was dumbfounded, for he had never thought that Wuxia would refer to him as Lord husband. He looked apologetically at Holy Mother Qi Xia. Since choosing anyone would be hard to avoid benefiting the other's shadow, your servant can only reluctantly decline. Holy Mother Qi Xia slightly smiled, her tone gentle. Your Majesty and your wife are deeply in love with each other, sure enough. Whatever I do, I would actually consider it somewhat dissatisfactory. I feel very much like a kindred spirit of your wife. I wonder if your wife would be willing to become sisters with me. So this rainbow-like glass jade can be treated as a gift for little sister? Su Xing wildly perspired. Although he knew Holy Mother Qi Xia had intentions of enticement, he did not expect she would raise the idea of becoming sworn sisters with Wuxia. How could the Grand Harm Star Pilgrim Wu Song ever recognize her as elder sister? My wife's natural disposition is aloof. Other than your servant, she is not willing to speak to anyone. Su Xing helplessly said. Holy Mother Qi Xia waved her hand, unconcerned about this. I also do not speak often. In the future, little sister and her husband can come to Mount Danxia often to stretch their legs. Su Xing looked at Wuxia. Seeing she was very indifferent, he stepped forward and cupped his fist. Then your servant thanks the Holy Mother on wife's behalf. Family need not address me as Holy Mother. No need to be shy, it will do to address me as elder sister Su Qiang. 5. Holy Mother Qi Xia smiled sweetly. Su Xing thanks sister Su Qiang. Su Xing had no choice but to concede that the Holy Mother Qi Xia before him and the Supervoid cultivator in the legends were, sure enough, not too similar. Afterwards, Su Qiang and the two intimately chatted the daily life of the family, with quite the concern for the bedroom affairs of Wuxia and Su Xing. This made Su Xing somewhat embarrassed, for the discourse even asked Su Xing about the pressures of having such a beautiful wife and so on. She even specially gave Wuxia a rare book used by dual cultivators for sex. Fine Ladies' Essence Gathering. 6. And Wuxia put on a masterful performance, expressionlessly actually accept it, which made Su Xing's glasses fall askew. Finally, Holy Mother Qi Xia Su Qiang invited Su Xing and Wuxia to rest the night in Red Cloud's hall. Having just received such a great favor as the rainbow-like glass jade, Su Xing was hard-pressed to decline such kindness. Walking upon the corridor, Su Xing could not help but be excited. He never thought that he could surprisingly manage to get the extremely rare 1,000 bells immortals, due for the evil smiting hall of the Vermilion Bird territory, which could be considered an enormous gain. Take it. Wuxia waved her hand, displeased. The rainbow-like glass jade, and that fine lady's essence gathering flew into Su Xing's hands. Wuxia had not interest whatsoever in these two items. This rainbow-like glass jade was gifted to you? Su Xing looked at her. It is useless in your servant's hands. Do you not have little sister Tang Lianxin? It so happens that you can take it for her to use. Wuxia suddenly thought of something. She extended her hand to take the fine lady essence gathering secret text. Su Xing promptly shielded it. This shameless action made Wuxia's mouth twitch several times. This thing had best be given to your servant to destroy. The book is one of this continent's most precious legacies, and you unexpectedly want to destroy it? Each book has recorded into it the links of Liangshan continent's civilization, and each link is like the star duels, a generation's hard work. You believe that you are destroying a single book, but in reality, you are destroying one link of Liangshan continent's civilization. This sort of hackles raising matter. Can you really do this, waifu? Su Xing began to babble. Wu Xiao's brows rose. She coldly said, "Your servant knows you have a tongue like a reed. Your servant may not be able to speak over you. But should you dare to do anything obscene to Yingmei, your servant will not let you off." Does a kiss count as obscene? Su Xing chuckled. Wu Xiao pursed her lips, her expression ferocious as if she wanted to devour him. "All right, waifu. I was never one to force my women." Su Xing's hand was placed on Wu Xiao's shoulder, their appearance intimate. Wu Xiao shook her shoulder, flinging aside that hand. The harm star certainly could not be that casually taken advantage of as the solitary star. You truly are a person of unfathomable mystery. Why do you call out such a fabricated address so smoothly? I'm the one that's strange. Just now, didn't you address me as Lord Husband? Didn't we agree on hubby? Since others believe we are husband and wife, what does it matter what we address each other as? In the end, the result was still the same. Wu Xiao's words made Su Xing rather amazed. The harm star's natural and unrestrained conduct was beyond expectation, and neither did she care about these elaborate details. Sure enough, she proved herself to be Liangshan's pilgrim. The more Su Xing looked at Wu Xiao, the more he liked her. This still was the first time that he had the urge to sign a contract. So you really want to become enemies with Yingmei? Your servant truly does not have the heart for this, Su Xing said regretfully. Wu Xiao had an "I know what you want to say" expression. Your servant will not become enemies with Yingmei, but do not think that you can sign a contract with your servant. That honestly is still rather self-contradictory, Su Xing said. Wu Xiao was silent, but her eyes suddenly had an indescribable frustration. If she truly was his wife, Su Xing really wanted to hug her in a loving embrace. It was a pity that if he were to actually do this, the joy of his lower body would probably be sheared by Wu Xiao. Just during the time that Su Xing was having regrets, he suddenly saw several people walk over. His expression changed, and he leaned to the side, pushing the somewhat absent-minded Wu Xiao onto a bed. What are you doing? Wu Xiao's pupils stared blankly, releasing an icy chill. There are enemies, Su Xing said in a low voice, his face covering itself in the sea of Wu Xiao's fine, black hair. Wu Xiao grit her teeth. She suddenly glimpsed the people approaching, and restraining her heart's impulses, she could only allow Su Xing to press against her body. She felt that her chest had been tightly pushed down upon, giving her a stifling feeling. The ones approaching were Chu He and a distinguished and elegant man wearing a purple gold crown. The two glanced at them, somewhat puzzled, but they did not pay that much mind as they walked directly to the hall. Only when they disappeared did Su Xing exhale. He retreated several steps, for before Wu Xiao killed him, he gave an earnest explanation. That girl just now is named Chu He, and she is a star master. You know her? Wu Xiao's fury instantly was eliminated in astonishment. And still remember when I was chased by Great Sage Falling Sky? Su Xing then summarized the events. Since she is a star master, why would she go to Five Poisons Mountain to die? Wu Xiao wrinkled her brow. Su Xing guessed. Perhaps something happened at Five Poisons Mountain. The man with her just now is unexpectedly supervoid early stage. It seems he is a cultivator from the Azure Dragon territory that wants to chase me. This was a trap to kill me, huh? Forget it, let's silently observe the others. Su Xing saw that the unexpected supervoid cultivator and Chu He had gone to see Holy Mother Su Qiong. It seemed the time had come for Su Qiong to receive her reward for the continuous invitations and entertainment. Wu Xiao stared pensively at Su Xing. That elder sister just now truly is a beauty, Chu He praised. What a pity her man is but galaxy early stage. The man with Chu He was the most high paths envious of the East. He wore his customary absent-minded expression on his face. I hear the purple thunder monster you wish to chase down is also galaxy early stage? Chu He blinked. Although he is galaxy early stage and has nevertheless killed several supercluster stage cultivators, he is a star master and naturally cannot be compared. Furthermore, he has the legendary panther head Lin Chong. Envious of the East spoke bluntly. Chu-hee's eyes were in adoration. To be able to sign Lin Chong, Chu-hee truly longs to see what the purple thunder monster looks like. I too would like to see. Envious of the East sneered. Entering the hall, Holy Mother Qixia sat upright on a throne. How could the warm and gentle attitude she had previously not long ago with elder sister and little brother Su Xing be seen? Her expression was serious. Envious, I have not seen you for a long time. Holy Mother Qixia spoke. Su Qiong, you actually are younger and younger. Your cultivation also seems to have progressed very well. Envious of the East nodded his head. There is no need to speak any more rubbish. The matter this time is important. Holy Mother Qixia waved her hand, making all the maids withdraw, leaving only Envious of the East and Chu-hee. This is only natural. Otherwise, why would we come? Envious of the East nodded, and sat on the chair with a flourish of his large sleeves. To what stage have things currently reached? Chu-hee, you speak. Holy Mother Qixia indicated. Chu-hee saluted, then brought out a jade strip. The array of 5 poisons mountain has already been completely recorded. It only needs to be broken, and then the forbid dance can be broken. Envious of the East took the jade strip. His divine intent swept, and he inwardly nodded. As if nothing had happened, he said, I heard the Rock Demon King's body sustaining an injury is true? Yes. He was wounded by a star general. Chu-hee nodded. This is indeed a great opportunity. If you still want to hesitate, if you wait until the 10,000-year Gu appears, then the Azure Dragon territory will be in danger. Holy Mother Qixia faintly warned. Is Mount Danxia not dangerous as well? Envious of the East laughed. The 10,000-year Gu. Envious of the East naturally knew its power. In the even this sort of Gu was born, it was something that could easily dispatch him. Just how is Lady Snake Scorpion able to refine the 10,000-year Gu? Is it not a poison Gu of myth? Holy Mother Qixia guessed. Most probably it coincides with the star duels. With the help of those poisonous scorpions, the Xie twins, the attraction of 2 stars has made all of the bugs even more formidable than before. Drawing support from arrays and the like, Lady Snake Scorpion refining that 10,000-year Gu has been verified. Ever since the Rock Demon King constructed the Jade Alum Palace, I have continuously blockaded 5 Poisons Mountain. Now, with all kinds of clear signs, this 10,000-year Gu is about to come into being. Have those cultivators been prepared? Envious of the East asked. More than 100 are from the Azure Dragon territory. Their cultivations are at galaxy stage. Not bad. Although their cultivation is commonplace, acting as cannon fodder would still be pretty good. I hear that Forbid Dance on 5 Poisons Mountain is very powerful, not easy to break through. Envious of the East nodded, looking upon the live of an entire crowd of cultivators like crickets and ants. Are they the only ones that will do this? Holy Mother Qixia was doubtful. Su Qiong, you still are so kind. Regardless of what this flock of cultivators does, is there a second choice? Envious of the East sipped his fine wine, praising. This Danxia rain broth. 2 makes one linger and forget to go home as expected. Su Qiong kept silent. That purple thunder monster, Su Qiong, have you found him? Envious of the East squinted his eyes into an ice-cold line. Lin Chong was not found. Could he have gone to the Black Turtle territory? Envious of the East stroked his chin. Since that purple thunder monster dares to kill supercluster stage cultivators, it must be that he has backing. Why should you chase to kill him? To be able to sign the panther head for the first time in 1,000 years. I see that not provoking him would be better. Su Qiong advised. It is precisely because he can kill supercluster stage cultivators that he must die. Envious of the East coldly grinned. Right, the Vermilion Bird territory has most recently turned up a galaxy early stage cultivator that can contend against the Rock Demon King in speed. Could he be the purple thunder monster? Su Qiong asked. It could not possibly be him. The purple thunder monster should not have this sort of capability. Envious of the East shook his head, not knowing whether it was because of unwillingness to accept that he could compare with the Rock Demon King, or if he subconsciously recognized the purple thunder monster, would be so defiant of the natural order. Holy Mother Chi Xia Suqiong smiled, but she said nothing more. Returning to the hall, the moment Su Xing appeared. Brother Su Xing, what did the Holy Mother invite you for? Fang Xianggu worriedly met with Su Xing. He was somewhat anxious and feared his introductions had exposed Su Xing to Holy Mother Chi Xia and gave rise to trouble for Su Xing. Nothing much. Holy Mother Chi Xia Su Xiong hoped to conceal the matter of her purchasing gold, so Su Xing did not speak directly. Seeing Su Xing not speak, Fang Xianggu did not persist. As far as the secret rumors of a supervoid cultivator, the less he knew, the better. Most recently, something has apparently occurred in the Vermilion Bird territory. Fang Xianggu shifted topics. What major event? Only then did Su Xing find out from Fang Xianggu's words that recently, Azure Dragon territory cultivators had been invited to secretly live in the Red Cloud's palace. In addition, the ancestors and everything of the 10 great sects reportedly had entered secluded meditation in the Red Cloud's hall. All of the cultivators could faintly guess that something was not too favorable, discussing in private that they had been brought to confront the purple thunder monster. However, to have this sort of battle formation to handle the purple thunder monster made people feel this was somewhat overkill. Connecting it to the rock demon king utilizing giant rock spreads its wings and flies 90,000 li in his chase, and falling to an injured state, Fang Xianggu said, "Your servant fears it is something to do with Lady Snake Scorpion. She has have done something to compel the Azure Dragon territory to feel fear. The Azure Dragon territory's great sex cultivators pretend that Rock Demon King's chase perhaps lured him into a trap that he would sustain injury. Otherwise there is nothing else about him. Brother Fang actually sees things very clearly. This was all said by your servant's cousin Yanran." Fang Xianggu laughed. The Zheng Yanran beside him bit down on nephrite cake, her expression absent-minded, ambiguously saying, "The results will naturally become apparent tomorrow." Deep night, after the feast dispersed. Under the guidance of maids, Su Xing walked into the room that Su Qiong arranged. Sitting on top of the bed, Su Xing was still thinking of Zheng Yanran's words. Things are somewhat fishy. Wuxia grimly began to speak. "I feel the same. It seems we can only wait until tomorrow to see." Su Xing nodded. Wuxia pursed her lips, staring expressionlessly at Su Xing. Su Xing stared blankly, looked in all directions, and he suddenly understood as his brow erupted in sweat. Could it be that he and Wuxia truly needed to sleep in the same bed like a married couple? "We sleep together?" Su Xing's eyes rolled. Su Xing and Wuxia gazed at each other. The atmosphere was somewhat silent. Gong Sun Huang emerged from the star nest and sat on Su Xing's shoulders. Her body did not have any weight, and her gaze at the two people staring at each other was neither saddened nor delighted. However, there was a sort of feeling that she was watching a spectacle. "I might as well sleep on the chair, and you sleep on the bed." Su Xing yawned. With regards to the heavens as a quilt and the earth as a mat, sleeping in a chair was a very high-grade joy. Wuxia agreed. She honestly did not have any reason to let a man sleep together with her. This simply was madness. Gong Sun Huang blinked and looked at Su Xing. "Little Huang, go to the star nest to sleep," Su Xing said to her. Gong Sun Huang lightly kissed Su Xing's cheek. Like mist, her figure entered the star nest to concentrate fully on self-cultivation. The cool and elegant beauty undressed on the bed. Although they were separated by a hanging screen, the curves that the cloth vaguely showed nevertheless made him stir. Just as his beastly desires were about to be unleashed, Su Xing grabbed at his hair. He seized the chance to practice the absolute sincerity soul technique, for the Wuxia on the bed was not undressing at all. Rather, she had pulled her clothes tighter and crouched, leaned against the wall with her arms crossed over her chest, her two legs twisting. As far as Wuxia was concerned, sleeping in the same room as a man for the night was more inconceivable than signing a contract. Although she had the hanging screen as a partition, she still felt a sort of unprecedented odd unease. There was nothing ambiguous, only a moonlight calm as still waters passing through the windows and pouring out, covering the floor in white. He did not know how long had passed, but Su Xing opened his eyes, glanced at the bed and suddenly stepped several paces towards the window. He had been sharp as he passed through Red Cloud Mountain. Going past several winding corridors, past several courtyards, he then came to a back mountain. Red Cloud Mountain deserved to be called a precious place. The moonlight was abundant, he was carefree and relaxed. Sneak still won't come out? Su Xing chuckled. A silhouette immediately walked out. The newcomer was an attractive man of sharp brows and starry eyes, red lips and white teeth. Long Outyin disdainfully smiled. Is your nose sharp? Is this your personal strength? I am a very democratic man. Su Xing yawned. You want to peep at my waifu, say it. It will be you castrating yourself. Or I can just take that dog life of yours. You, a galaxy early-stage cultivator, dares to be this arrogant? Long Outyin felt this was laughable to the extreme. His expression was even more incomparably detestable. What qualifications does your cultivation have that you should live so happily? This Long Outyin could not bear to see the Su Xing with a cultivation lower than his own by 2 levels to unexpectedly be able to have a galaxy late-stage beauty. You gigolo had best leave her if you have tact. I can settle you without using artifacts. Su Xing made hooked his lips into a disdainful smile. Arrogance must pay the price. Long Outyin shouted. Su Xing scratched his head. Was this guy hitting his own face? Long Outyin's figure moved, and his 2 fists combined. Since Su Xing declared his price of not using artifacts, Long Outyin naturally would not lower his own status. In actuality, he felt Su Xing had already dug his own grave. Previously, in order to be able to comparable to a star general, he had but cultivated close-quarters martial cultivation with all his might. It was unknown how many cultivators had perished in close quarters, and it was precisely because of this that Long Outyin would be this egotistical. With his galaxy late-stage cultivation against Su Xing's galaxy early stage, Long Outyin had already planned to cut his arms and legs completely off. At the very end, he would then sever that tongue. The moment Long Outyin acted, Su Xing could discern this guy still had some assets. However, arrogant people always had some assets. Even if it was this type of asset, it was unable to withstand a single blow. Then I'll send you on a journey, Su Xing sneered as he charged forward. 2 figures tangled in a battle against each other on the back mountain. Although their cultivations were a little apart in comparison, these realms of cultivation were only a deceptive signboard as far as Su Xing was concerned. His star energy could be compared with a supercluster stage, and after Su Xing fought the fiery-eyed Swan and I, he currently worried about to what degree he could handle cultivators on his own. Now, someone had been delivered to his doorstep, so Su Xing naturally would not mind. The first time those 2 fists joined, Long Outyin had been repeatedly pushed back enough that he vomited blood. Su Xing's power could make this man feel his internal organs rupture. His face bled from its orifices, and Long Outyin thought he had seen wrong. He angrily roared, concentrating his star energy onto his fist. I am going to trample you to death. Long Outyin's expression sunk, his pupils flashing a cold light. His arrogance had disappeared. There was only a fierce expression. A powerful star energy flew out of his body and stuck tightly onto him, as if mixing into a single body. It seemed this Long Outyin had practiced an odd cultivation method. Su Xing's front glowed, and he remained unruffled in the face of chaos. Boom! Bang! The back mountain's open space suddenly erupted with a large ball of wind pressure. Trees toppled, and sand and stones rolled, for that wind pressure was like a hurricane that spun beside them. It covered the sky and earth as it pressed towards Su Xing. Long Outyin's pupils were thoroughly red in the night. Su Xing's figure abruptly disappeared. Long Outyin was stunned. He had yet to return to his senses, but then he saw Su Xing's figure was just like a phantom of the night, rapidly descending to his front. Long Outyin's arms suddenly protected his front, joined tightly together. Afterwards, he spread out his arms, and the shadow was completely dissipated from his surroundings. It was just that at this time, Su Xing's attack had arrived with a flurry of fists. Continuous banging sounds. His right hand's palm chop flashed like crescent moon as it passed, directly ripping apart Long Outyin's figure, mercilessly striking Long Outyen's chin. An immense and even terrifying power instantly erupted, striking Long Outyen's head fiercely backwards so that it faced upwards. Tears, snot and saliva instantly sprayed wildly, and that malevolent face contorted, an appearance of bleakness, misery and shock. In an instant, this galaxy late-stage man had tasted a sort of unprecedented fear. Furthermore, he immediately realized the man in front of him was also a martial cultivator. He had fallen into a trap. Su Xing did not pause whatsoever. He jumped, his body suddenly sliding up alongside Long Outyen's upward-facing head, rolling beautifully in midair. His other leg brought the sound of wind as it again mercilessly sliced against Long Outyen's body. The leftover strength had not yet faded. His arms and legs were like a windmill, carrying a terrifying sharp whistle that successively sliced the same position. The sharp ripping sound was just like a death god's sinister laughter. However, in that short instant, the shadows of his fists and legs surrounded Long Outyen's body, the movements wild and linked. Flowers of blood spattered, and his silhouette was already spun away. Relying on his galaxy late-stage star energy, the barely standing Long Outyen violently roared out a mouthful of dirty blood. However, in their brief face-to-face, the galaxy early-stage cultivator in front of him gave him a nearly fatal strike. His entire body from his internal organs already began to burst forth with huge wounds, just as if he was a complaining woman that had been struck 100 different ways. Impossible! How could a galaxy early-stage cultivator, surprisingly be able to harm me? The Long Outyen, injured to a critical state, spoke incoherently. His body shook without stop as an intense pain engulfed his whole body. Anger ignited his will, and his eyes were already completely blood-red, just as if he had gone mad. His body suddenly soared. Although he had already lost the ability to speak, Long Outyen's actions nevertheless expressed his intense fury, as if he could not believe this fact. This was a matter that was barely an instant as he fiercely rushed at Su Xing. A frightening wind pressure showered down upon him. One hand seemingly became a sharp claw that hid the skies and covered the crazily pressed down, exceptionally vicious. The knight seemingly became his most sharp weapon, tearing towards Su Xing together. Su Xing fell back several steps. Seeing that Long Outyen's attack this time was simply leaving the door wide open, his right leg kicked, directly striking Long Outyen's stomach. Along with several of his ribs fracturing, Long Outyen opened his eyes wide as he was kicked to the ground. Courting, Long Outyen loudly yelled. He finally thought to use something, but how could Su Xing give him the chance? After he kicked him, Su Xing flashed past, directly brushing past Long Outyen. His hand already had a sharp blade. Long Outyen had only just said courting, but his next word came to an abrupt end. His neck had an additional line of blood as he immediately fell onto the ground and breathed his last. Su Xing coldly looked at this man of rampant name. Taking his astral bag, he took out several corpse-destroying talismans to eliminate his body. As far as this sort of man courting death that was sent to his doorstep was concerned, Su Xing would never be thankful for him. That last move just now was rather fierce, and I don't know what it was. Su Xing rummaged through Long Outyen's astral bag. The more he looked, the more he was astonished. As it turned out, this man was a thieving scum. The items inside his bag were innumerable, and their varieties were also myriad, having everything. An ordinary cultivator simply could not possibly bring this many varied things that he could not use at once. Having not used them, a bit of thought would reveal he had stolen them. This guy's death truly was a grievance. Su Xing clicked his tongue. Just artifacts alone he had more than 40 or 50, and there were even several magic weapons, hundreds of bottles of pills, and talismans numbering more than 1,000. There was even a supreme-grade talisman, God Transformation Talisman. 3. Upon seeing this talisman, Su Xing felt that Long Outyen dying was very unresigned. It was not out of the question for this supreme-grade talisman to be able to handle supercluster cultivators. No wonder this Long Outyen was so unbridled. Artifacts, pills, talismans, materials and more were all uncountable. However, Su Xing did not place the majority of them in his eyes. Actually, a secret text of a cultivation method made Su Xing feel very interested. The 9 Claws True Dragon Art, seemed to be that cultivation Long Outyin practiced. Su Xing looked over it, and it was incredible, as expected, a ruthless claw technique. Suddenly striking during close quarters, it could easily rip apart artifacts. If it was an unaware cultivator, he would have perhaps been easily beheaded. Su Xing could actually take it to practice it. Besides this, there was an introductory Gu poison art, poison border Gu art. 5. There would be help using it to research Gong Sun Huang's Gu poison art. After inspecting the entire contents of the astral bag, Su Xing also found a second ghost pearl. Su Xing discovered that this Long Outyin truly was fucking awesome. It was unknown how many cultivators he had killed, how many debts of blood from conspiracy to murder, but converting everything into gold, the value was more than 10 billion. As far as star cultivators were concerned, this absolutely was an astronomical figure. Just as Su Xing was about to leave, he suddenly spotted that at the place Long Outyin's corpse turned to ashes, there was an object that twinkled. Generally speaking, if the flying sword star cultivators nurtured were not used, they would be entirely destroyed alongside their owner. However, it seemed that this Long Outyin had seemingly left something behind, so Su Xing curiously walked over. That was a golden ring, with multiple talisman script sparkling, its luster lingering. Golden Immortals linked life ring? 6. When Su Xing saw this item, he was startled. Astonishingly, this was the ranked 108th Hound Star golden-haired Hound Duan Jingzhu's 7 destined star weapon. This guy unexpectedly disposed of a star general? Just as Su Xing was swearing, at a faraway place, Wuxia opened her eyes, and her figure sunk into the dark night. The next day, Red Cloud Main Hall. Cultivators were jam-packed within, bustling about their respective business. Without the drink and merriment of yesterday, there was now a sort of seriousness, as if facing a great enemy. Su Xing and Wuxia stayed far apart from the crowd. They leaned in front of a stone pillar, their cold eyes observing. Elder Sister Xiao, it seems you did not sleep well last night. Zheng Yanran wore that golden cup chrysanthemum dress, yawning. As far as star generals were concerned, things like sleep were not essential. It was just that staying in a room with a man for the first time made Wuxia appear comparatively worn out. Su Xing's energy, on the other hand, was exceptionally good. This guy was a person ready to adapt to the situation. His unexpectedly destroying that fraudulent Long Outyin last night made Su Xing receive a great bumper harvest, and he had forgotten about Wuxia's affairs. Now it seemed that Su Xing's great vitality and Wuxia's unbearable exhaustion made Fang Xiangu and Zheng Yanran show ambiguous yet knowing smiles. By Wuxia's personality, she naturally disdained to explain anything. Not long after, the noisy hall slowly went silent. Before the person even came, a powerful imposing aura made the entire hall's air seemingly freeze. Everyone was as if they had been stuffed in the mouths with something. They saw from the main hall's passage 8 silhouettes slowly walked over. The posture of these men and women were superb, their temperaments extraordinary. Each and every movement had a sort of fearful pressure, and all the galaxy stage cultivators present tingled in the back, as if they were sitting on needles. These 8 people were, astonishingly, the ancestral masters of the Azure Dragon Territory's 10 great sects. Wuxia specifically glanced at Su Xing's reaction. The latter narrowed his eyes, a somewhat deep and immeasurable gaze. Such an incredible imposing air. Are those the monster-level ancestral masters of the 10 great sects? Fang Xiangu swallowed. Among these 8, Su Xing was somewhat or very familiar with. The True Immortals Hall's Xianzhenzi, Lifeless Hall's Ancestor Longevity, and Gong Saiwei's Master, the Queen Lady of Ice. For the 4 others, besides the Red Lotus Fairy that he saw once at Longblood Stronghold, there were 3 he was more unfamiliar with. That one with the green leaf robes is Taoist Master Qing Lian, the Tai Sword Sect's ancestral master. That is Ancestor Qianli of the Blooming Water Sword Sect. That is the Shifting Flower Sword Sect's Lingbo Fairy, 2, and the Super Void Stage Envious of the East. Fang Xiangu introduced them in a low voice. Su Xing secretly nodded his head. These 8 had joined forces to chase him, But all of them gathering at once right now at Red Cloud Hall was actually somewhat strange. Holy Mother Wuxia was also present. She waved her hand, and the hall's main doors were tightly shut. The multicolored lights vanished, and the air was heavy. The cultivators were in a fit of restlessness. I am envious of the East. Today's invitation here too is because I have something I wish to consult with everyone. That distinguished and elegant man, that giant among men, began to speak. Senior envious cultivation is exceptional. What can we juniors do? Only an outstanding talent could recognize current trends. 3. Everyone present were galaxy stage cultivators, having seen gales and billows. Seeing 8 great cultivators mobilize, their brief confusion immediately settled. The one who posed the question was a tough and stocky tall man, draped in a bear pelt vest. His forehead was full, his eyes were sharp, and he was at galaxy late stage. To be able to be the first to ask a question in the face of the pressure of 8 great cultivators. This made Su Xing unable to but take a closer look. Everyone here is but an elite of the Azure Dragon territory. Envious of the East sat upon a jade chair, his hand rhythmically tapping. This is naturally so. How could the others dare say no when they saw this envious of the East's self-confident situation? Very good. Your servant has not made an error in judgment. Everyone is of a generation with great aspirations. Envious of the East smiled. May I ask just what matter Senior has? Is it the purple thunder monster? A female cultivator courteously asked. Ancestor Qianli made a gloomy smile. That purple thunder monster must die, without doubt, but this ancestor alone is sufficient to handle him. Why would we need to call upon you youngsters? The female cultivator went back in embarrassment. This situation is this. The Lingbo fairy of the shifting flower sword sect wearing a blue long skirted gown glanced at everyone. We have just learned that the 10,000-year goo of falling dragon mountain's lady snake scorpion is already about to be born. What? The 10,000-year goo. Is it truly the 10,000-year goo? That is certainly a fearsome animal from prehistory. All of the cultivators erupted, each and every one feeling alarm. A goo of more than 1,000 years was a fearsome beast, and 5,000 years was an absolutely fearsome beast. 10,000 years? Perhaps transforming star of annihilation grade star cultivators would be forced to deliberate for a while. No wonder the 5 Poisons Mountain was that strict. This lady snake scorpion's ambitions are truly not small. Su Xing clicked his tongue. Should she refine a 10,000-year goo, the star duels would be entirely in her control. Is there any way this is wrong? The previous big man said doubtfully. Could it be that you suspect we would deceive you juniors? Ancestor Qianli coldly smiled. His imposing air made the big man overflow with cold sweat. I do not dare. Since it is the 10,000-year goo, just what can we do? A cultivator was confused. By the powers of the seniors, to kill the 10,000-year goo still is not very easy. Right. Everyone nodded in agreement. Holy Mother Wuxia at this time said. By means of us 8, indeed we can break through, but that Rock Demon King planned 10 years ahead, laying down a forbid dance on 5 Poisons Mountain. These forbid dances and mechanisms are layered. And furthermore, the demi-soldiers and demi-kings of 5 Poisons Mountain are numerous. Relying solely on 8 cultivators is still somewhat weak. In order to prevent side issues from arising, that is why we need everyone to work together for a common purpose. And because the Rock Demon King was injured by my attack, this time is a great opportunity. Envious of the East faintly said. Hearing his words, everyone trembled. Su Xing felt this man was honestly shameless, unexpectedly saying it was he who inflicted the injuries. However, this formlessly gave all the cultivators present an increase in irresistible pressure. We are scattered stars that consider the whole world as home. I fear this sort of matter is difficult to undertake. Since this concerns the fate of the Azure Dragon territory, Senior's disciples, and that Emperor Liang will be more willing to fight than us scattered star cultivators. This sentence spoke out everyone's thoughts. That appearance clearly said, your fucking Azure Dragon territory has the millions of disciples of the famous 10 great sects, galaxy stages in the thousands, Yet you seeking us scattered star cultivators clearly shows you have ill intentions. This is a choice for lack of a better option. To order our disciples to come now is too late. Secondly, it will cause alarm in the other 3 powers of the Vermilion Bird territory. If another Azure Dragon War were to erupt, could it be that everyone wishes to see that? Envious of the East downplayed things with a smile. He practically was the chief-like existence among the 8 great cultivators. The others said not a word, allowing Envious of the East to become the lead role for everyone present. Envious of the East's words had reason and justification. They were sincere and natural. Although everyone knew he more or less had evil designs, they nevertheless were incapable of refuting him. Everyone looked at each other, secretly regretting they had entered this feast at Hongmen. Those that are higher up are more likely to speak pretty words. Zheng Yanran giggled, somewhat disdainful. They obviously know the dangers of 5 Poisons Mountain, and do not wish to let their own disciples suffer casualties. They want to send us scattered star cultivators to our deaths. Do not speak nonsense. Fang Xiangu covered Zheng Yanran's mouth in fright. How do you see this? Wuxia asked. What Zheng Yanran said was correct. Their sex star masters have not appeared, so evidently, this 5 Poisons Mountain is absolutely deadly. Su Xing said. I actually want to see how he executes this. A moment later, Envious of the East rose, his figure just like a large mountain, and everyone went mute. The corner of Envious of the East's mouth was slightly scornful, coldly saying, As for the reason why we have appeared, everyone presumably knows that we have also come for that purple thunder monster. With the Azure Dragon territory currently at stake, we 8 are even willing to give up on the purple thunder monster. Could it be that everyone refuses to face reality? In reality, everyone need not be too anxious. 5 Poisons Mountain has several forbidance arrays that require everyone to go break. As for destroying the 10,000-year goo, leaving that to us will do. Even if we 8 will hardly contend against this 5 poisons. The Lingbo Fairy softly said. In addition, for those participating in this matter, we will not treat everyone unfairly. The Holy Mother has already agreed to give each person 2 petals of 1,000 bells immortals, due to act as remuneration. The fellows participating in this 5 Poisons Mountain mission will forever have the 10 great sects as their ally. As we have said, if there are people who want to drift and live an existence without purpose, it would be better to allow this ancestor to might as well send them off. Ancestor Qianli laughed aloud, his tone containing a slight killing intent. These great cultivators where you speak, I speak, big stick with a radish, a kind and powerful exertion. They basically did not allow these cultivators to have a second option. Besides suffering in silence, everyone had no alternative but agreement. There were also some cultivators that secretly used their heads to stealthily leave. Envious of the East seemed to have anticipated this. The corner of his mouth hung a disdainful grin. I forgot to inform everyone, but the disciples of the Holy Mother have been careless the past few days. They carelessly poured evil conch blood into the liquor. It would be hard to say what happens if you do not ingest the antidote within 7 days. What? Everyone was alarmed, showing furious expressions. Evil conch blood? Fang Xiangu was startled. Su Xing thought, as expected, these great sects leave no room to maneuver when they do things. Evil conch blood was a colorless and tasteless strange poison. After ingestion, if the cure was not taken within 7 days, the evil conch blood would activate. The cultivator's entire body would twist, bleed from the 7 apertures of the head and then die. Furthermore, this evil conch blood was not an ordinary poison. Detoxification pearls, and the like could not be used to cure it. 5. The evil conch blood was a poison art of the Vermilion Bird Territory's 100 Flowers clan. Without their magic, the poison would induce death in 7 days. Su Xing actually did not fear this. Star Masters with the star nests could rely on the star energy of their star general to expel the poison. Seeing that Fang Xiangu's expression was calm, Su Xing could not help but raise his eyebrows. Why should Senior be so overbearing? The big man gnashed his teeth. As matters stand, so long as we pass this 5 Poisons Mountain, the antidote will be self-offered. Do not resent our heartlessness. I am also afraid a traitor among everyone present may leak information to Falling Dragon Mountain. Then that would be anything but reassuring. I ask for your forgiveness. Envious of the East sincerely said. Although everyone knew these were superficial words, they dared only to be angry, but they did not dare to speak. It seems this matter is indeed severely dangerous. Then we can only agree. Su Xing smiled. 6. When all the cultivators heard that, they had no alternative. They could only inwardly curse. These supercluster stage star cultivators had completed things to this stage, and for them to dare say no, they certainly would be treated as traitors and be disposed of. Very well. We will not forget everyone's loyalty. Envious of the East and the other sect ancestral masters glanced at each other, showing satisfied expressions. Then Holy Mother Qixia's maids actually gave each cultivator 2 flowers of the 1,000 bells immortals due. As far as galaxy stage cultivators were concerned, this was considered a sizable consolation. They thought only of passing 5 Poisons Mountain, and with the protection of the 8 great ancestral masters, perhaps it would not be dangerous. Thinking of this, they calmed. This is something the Holy Mother wanted slave servant to give to your majesty for use as protection. When the maid gave Su Xing and Wuxia their share of the 1,000 bells immortals due, she stealthily brought out a treasure mirror, and gave it to Wuxia along with 10 more flowers of the 1,000 bells immortal due. Thanks. Su Xing thanked them on Wuxia's behalf, glancing at Holy Mother Qixia. This Holy Mother Qixia really was not that cold-blooded. It was just that when he raised his head to gaze at that envious of the East, that smug ancestral master star cultivator, this trip to 5 Poisons Mountain seemed to be one way. This mirror was approximately 3 inches, its surface like glass. The flash of red clouds it gave off were actually good-looking, and it seemed that this was a heavenly spirit-grade astral treasure. This mirror is named Shifting Star Mirror. If it reflects upon a goo, then the mirror will seal it. Breaking out is difficult. Holy Mother Qixia's sound transmission reached their minds, and Su Xing faintly nodded. He and Wuxia looked at each other pensively. Envious of the East was again giving an inspiring speech, and he even gave each person a piece of 5 Poisons Mountain's precious stones to act as a sex keepsake in the future. His methods were exceptional, for this action incited the entire crowd into a fervor, firing them up. We shall trouble Holy Mother Qixia to go stall Immeasurable Mountain's ancestor Zhaohua, and Silver Night Mountain's Queen Lady Yuchun. Envious of the East cupped his fist. Holy Mother Qixia nodded her head. All fellows, there is no time to lose. So as to avoid sudden changes, we shall move out now. The 8 great ancestral masters on their riding swords flew out of Red Cloud Hall, and more than 100 galaxy cultivators helplessly followed. Su Xing, do you truly wish to go? Wuxia furrowed her brow and said. As these supercluster cultivators have planned, this 5 Poisons Mountain is perhaps a trip without return. She and Su Xing thought together. It just so happens I want to help cure little Huang of the goo poison. With their help, what could you have against it? Su Xing was unconcerned. He currently was full of self-confidence. With more than 100 flowers of 1,000 bells immortal due, it was enough for him to shake the miraculous Bodhi tree. Even if the 8 ancestors simultaneously attacked, Su Xing had enough confidence to escape unscathed. He, on the contrary, was more concerned about Wuxia. Xio, could it be that you want to go? Your servant naturally wants to see that 10,000-year goo. The corner of Wuxia's mouth twitched slightly, a cold grin. And an expanse of sword light flew towards 5 Poisons Mountain. And within this, Envious of the East was the most conspicuous. For all cultivators, even those supercluster ancestors were relying on flight artifacts and magic treasures if not riding swords. Only Envious of the East was simply not in need of any device. His silhouette directly rose into the sky. Legends said that supervoid cultivators' star energy could meld into one with the world. Upon reaching this realm, flight did not require any supplementary tools, and it was even swifter than artifacts and magic weapons by some, making people envious. Wuxia, who was not capable of riding swords at all, just sat on Su Xing's wind-swayed divine raft. No one doubted the two were a married couple. With this many cultivators mobilized, in order to not be detected, Envious of the East also fully used an immortal magic, threatening eyes and ears. 2. Approximately several hours afterwards, the Five Poisons Mountain enveloped in poison gas was visible to everyone. In the 10 years since the Rock Demon King constructed the Jade Alum Palace at Five Poisons Mountain, the poison fog and demon smoke of Five Poisons Mountain was more and more profound. It was unknown to what terrifying state the Five Poisons Mountain inside had developed into. The hearts of a group of Galaxy Stage cultivators pounded when they saw this. Looking at the Five Poisons Mountain pervaded by smoke and rolling magic clouds, the forbid dance evidently had already activated. In the several thousand li surrounding Five Poisons Mountain, everyone halted. Divine light shone brightly from Envious of the East's eyes, and looking around, in front is the core of Five Poisons Mountain's forbid dance. The poison smoke inside has reportedly been condensed for 10,000 years, incomparably toxic. For those unafraid of death and capable of flight, this Five Poisons Mountain's four sides possess more than 20 array points. I see that we should divide here into 4 groups, breaking each from the 4 directions east, west, south and north. All fellows, how about it? The other ancestral masters were silent, and the Galaxy Stage cultivators basically did not have the right to speak. Good. Then 2 ancestral masters each will guide in excess of 40 juniors. This matter of life and death for the Azure Dragon territory shall be passed to everyone, and I ask that all of you pull together as one and withstand calamity. Envious of the East clearly said, "We will converge again when the time comes." Everyone said, yes, in succession. The close to 200 Galaxy cultivators and 8 ancestral masters split into 4 groups, flying in the 4 directions. Su Xing's group had more than 40 cultivators, the majority of which had cultivations at Galaxy early stage. The highest was Wuxia. For better or for worse, the supercluster cultivator for this group was Ancestor Qianli of the Blooming Water Sword Sect, as well as the Tai Sword Sect's Taoist Master Qing Lian. The two could be said to from the 2 great sects that hated Su Xing to the bone. Who does Envious of the East think he is? This manner of following blindly truly makes this ancestor unhappy. Ancestor Qianli looked at the others departing, somewhat indignantly sneering. The Taoist Master Qing Lian beside him was sage-like, extraordinarily refined. He stroked his long beard. Fellow Qianli, these words are better not spoken to Envious of the East's face. Ha, Taoist Master Qing Lian. This ancestor naturally knows I am not a supervoid cultivator's opponent. However, that said, we are in any case each the grand ancestral masters of our sects. Yet we are to obey him? Could it be you are very comfortable? Taoist Master Qing Lian faintly smiled. This time we are all working for the common purpose of the Azure Dragon territory's safety. There is no so-called obey or disobey. Would this ancestor believe in this sort of shit? Ancestor Qianli laughed aloud. Gloomily he said, "Did we not come for the 10,000-year goo? And for whoever obtains this 10,000-year goo, they would someday be Azure Dragon territory's overlord." Taoist Master Qing Lian smiled but did not speak. Taoist Master Qing Lian, how about if the 2 of us link hands? Ancestor Qianli said slyly. This ancestor sees the others certainly will also link hands. With this ancestor's blooming water divine thunder, and the Taoist master's 360 extreme white-black-green lotus flying swords, should we act together, would we still need to fear Envious of the East? There is only one 10,000-year goo. Fellow certainly must not have wild thoughts. Taoist Master Qing Lian vaguely replied. Ancestor Qianli smiled. This is simple. If the Taoist master seizes the 10,000-year goo, so long as you help this ancestor kill the purple thunder monster, that purple thunder monster's items will be given to me. What do you say? Conversely, if this ancestor luckily obtains it, I will certainly help the Taoist master kill the purple thunder monster, and his items shall belong to you. With the 10,000-year goo, who would care about that purple thunder monster's things? Taoist Master Qing Liang murmured to himself. Evidently, he had been somewhat piqued by Ancestor Qianli's words. How about it? Within the current great sects, only our 2 Star Masters have been slain by the Purple Thunder monster. Honestly speaking, it is only us that genuinely hates the Purple Thunder monster to the bone. No one loses out if we act together. The Taoist Master Qingliang smiled. Hey, talk more later. We had best still quickly rush towards our top priority, so as to avoid Envious of the East becoming the winner. Ancestor Qianli gloomily cursed the old fox. This ancestor's ugly words have been said. Yet he still feigns righteousness before this ancestor. Having heard the bare and treacherous deal between these 2 ancestors, the galaxy stage cultivators each were somewhat frightened. Wuxia looked pensively at Su Xing. Should these 2 ancestors realize the Purple Thunder monster they wanted to kill was right among them at this moment, it was unknown what kind of marvel that would be. Su Xing also chuckled, a sort of unconcerned appearance. Ancestor Qianli at this time turned his head back, sternly saying, "Presumably, you have heard this ancestor's words. This ancestor is not like that sweet-talking hypocrite, Envious of the East. We have long heard news of the 10,000-year Gu, and moving out at this time, it is only because the 10,000-year Gu is about to be born." Breaking the array points. That is only for the sake of allowing an easy escape from the Rock Demon King after seizing the 10,000-year Gu. If this 10,000-year Gu is stolen, do you know what this represents? If you have ambitions, you can make a vain attempt. This ancestor only wants you to be self-aware. However, as long as you help this ancestor obtain that 10,000-year Gu, this ancestor will not treat you unfairly. What do you think? We will surely go through water and tread on fire for the ancestor. They promptly said. Ancestor Qianli laughed aloud, waving his large sleeve. Only an outstanding talent can recognize current trends. 3. We shall go in like this. The crowd of cultivators hesitated before they still entered the dense fog. Su Xing turned his head to look behind him. It seems that they hate you abnormally. Do you still wish to go? Wuxia asked through sound transmission. If you expose your identity, you must understand clearly the consequences. It is precisely because of that. Right now is the best opportunity. Su Xing gazed at Ancestor Qianli and Taoist Master Qinglian, inwardly smirking. Wuxia was silent. A dense, non-dispersing poison cloud that was like a Mara blocked everyone's line of sight. Before them was a dark green swamp over a range of 1,000 li bubbles were emitted in the middle of the swamp with a gunong-gunong, 5 sound. After these bubbles burst apart, a wisp of green smoke rose. This green smoke filled the area above the swamp, carrying a type of corrosive scent. One look was all it took to know this was highly toxic. Few cultivators were somewhat hesitant to advance upon seeing the scene before them. Seeing that swamp was just like boiling water, anyone could see, in the case someone fell into it, returning alive was absolutely impossible. Senior Qinglian, how shall we cross this? A male cultivator was green in the face when he saw that green poison smoke. Just the swamp's odor was unpleasant. This is Poison Dragon Swamp, one of the 5 poisons of 5 Poisons Mountain. We can still barely use riding swords. All fellows, I ask again that we search for the array point in the vicinity. This is also for the sake of making us better. Taoist Master Qinglian was unlike Ancestor Qianli, speaking with a warm comfort. When everyone heard, they looked at each other in dismay. At once, they used their flying swords. They might as well, for the toxic gas at 5 Poisons Mountain's Poison Dragon Mountain was not too thick. On the borderlines of the Forbid Dance, the flying swords actually could ascend several zhang. This made the cultivators breathe out a sigh of relief. They released every sort of sword chant for protection as they very carefully forged their way. However, the green poison smoke of Poison Dragon Swamp was still formidable.